Going live.
Hello.
It's official. I
Get
think.
all the things loaded. And then are we two screens or are we one screen?
What do you want? We normally do it switches back and forth between who's talking, but do you want? Should we do two this time? Switch it up a little bit.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Video settings. I'm not sure I even know how to do that. Maybe we should.
I think it's inside Zoom.
Yeah. I'm on Zoom. I'm trying to figure out where the split screen option is here. Not stop video. Video settings. That's right. Hmm. Well, while I figured this out, what up, squad? We're back. Kieran Elliott. That looks like a new name. What up, man? Welcome, everybody. We're back here with Richie, capital Zxy. Chat some everything. Really, we haven't even really solidified a topic yet, but we'll do it. We'll do it. What up, Yesenia? Nice to see you too. I've been playing a spooky Halloween ambience in the background this whole time, and it just like blended in with our conversation earlier, and I forgot it was there.
Nice. The surreality hits.
Okay. Oh, actually, match side by side mode. I found it. Enter school full screen. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. By the way, that's what I meant to end that with. Thank you for being here.
Getting all this forwarded to my networks. Anybody who's familiar and listened to these before, at Richie Zxy, I got Telegram networks where I'm plugging links to, and so that's what I'm doing right now is I'm making sure the people there have this here. So, much respect for Man of Letters. Bless, Keith. I'm glad you're traveling and it's going well and all your adventures are panning out in a good direction.
They have been. They have been under fire and pressing forward.
Good things. I say good things for the pressing forward, and we kind of got to adapt from the under fire part.
Yeah, I know. I meant that, and literally too with the madness that's going on right now. Where should we steer the conversation? Do you want to pick tonight? Do you have a thing?
Dang, yeah, I'd like to start. I like to start as much as possible when I'm creating containers. I
Yeah.
like to start with a neutral question. So, like
Oh
true
yeah,
neutral,
we have been.
for sure. So, if you could describe your today in a color, Keith, what color would today be? Or
Well,
we could say, an essential oil or a color or both.
I
You
was
know
gonna,
what I
I
mean?
was gonna say we always do favorite color. Let's switch it up today.
For sure. You could do texture. You could do sound.
Texture, sound. Um, ooh, all right. I got a good sound. Hollow.
Ooh, you've had a hollow Sunday, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I was actually thinking of the other kind of hollow, but
Hollowed.
I was thinking of hollow like you hear something and you knock on it and it's like, oh, this sounds hollow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Dunk, dunk,
Okay.
dunk.
I thought you were thinking hollow, like Halloween.
For sure, for sure. I was thinking more like a hollow Sunday, like the sound of the tabernacle in an abandoned.
Ooh.
You got it. For sure, for sure.
Nice.
All right, and then if you could choose what sound tomorrow would be, what would you like tomorrow to sound like?
Right.
Because it's a present and future pace.
I was thinking of our flight. I was like, it would be nice if tomorrow went well because the day of traveling is kind of can
So
be
you want it to like sound smooth.
yeah, it's like cheerful and sort of well,
For
good
sure.
flow.
Positive, aware, progressive, as in
Yeah,
making progress, going in
yeah,
a forward direction. For sure, for sure. Nice.
yeah, man.
I'd say my today in the sound would be like the sound of a megaphone from a distance.
A big megaphone from a really far distance, or like
Yeah,
literally.
a big megaphone from a really far distance. You're going, and you're like, whoa, that's loud as heck because there's nobody over there. So I think it's just like a big echo or a call from the earth itself, maybe being like, you're okay. but all of us are tripping, being like, "Oh!" It's like, wait, listen, listen. It says, "You're okay." It's like, oh damn, nice. I'm glad I took a second to really tune into what that was saying.
I saw a video of what's that super spooky. Speaking of Hollow and a long distance away with a horn is that spooky.
I save so much time with Blender Mastering.
Is that me?
I assure you, it's not me.
um,
Ricola. That was
I
somebody's.
know. I signed up. I signed up to a program that masters tracks for me for $6.
Dang.
You probably heard of it, Lender, to remaster like 5 of my old songs,
Okay, nah.
and shit
Fair.
was fire.
Word.
It worked surprisingly well,
Nice.
like surprisingly well.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear this. You got some pretty
Yeah.
awesome musical talents to fly with.
What's that?
I said you got some pretty awesome musical talents to fly with.
Oh, I know, man. I've been trying to bring the music back. And that song you sent me that we remastered, I know we're kind of getting sidetracked, was really good compared to the
Hey.
master I had before it.
No worries, for sure. Yeah, he sent me the files and I listened. It's like, wow, this is multi-track. There's a lot of effects on here. The dude who did it knew what he was doing, but
Uh-huh.
it sounded like there was like maybe the master effects chain was dead or like the last part of it wasn't done.
Uh-huh.
Because I just went in and did some pretty advanced meticulous EQs to get it to
Uh-huh.
where it sounded right through my cans, but I'm not used to mastering, so I'm not like mastering to that standard. I'm glad that you got an approval of it, but I think it'd be fun to see what you think of that compared to the new masters that you got done by this lender company.
I've already compared them. Actually, I ran the south side with yours, and they
Right.
sound pretty. They sound pretty identical. It's hard to tell which is theirs is louder, but
Sure.
it could just be the master volume. You know what I mean?
For sure. So a part of that I hesitate from, and this is getting pretty geeky in the audio style,
Uh-huh.
is you'll EQ it out. So you'll have your EQs either in 8 or in 3, and then you'll have separate compressors for each EQ range.
Uh-huh.
So it could be that the master that you're getting from the algorithm website or however it's doing it, the technicians there will be using a stronger compressor in certain areas. Where I didn't really compress too much signal, I just kind of crafted it because I didn't want to push for amplitude. And I figured that you get back to me with notes and we can kind of kick back and forth till it's squeaky where you want it. But I'm glad that you found a service that works because to me it's a higher level of collaboration now. It's like we're passing back the marble and like chip. All right, now you chip. And then
Yeah.
word.
No, I feel you. It was the lender was to what I compared it to was and what I paid for was phenomenal. I was super stoked with it. And I was listening back at the yours and the other one I couldn't tell, or actually yours and the one that I had already finished, I couldn't tell at first. But then the more I listened to it, it was like when your ears are plugged and you don't realize it, and then your ears
Yeah.
pop and you're like, oh shit, like that's oh man. And that's
Totally.
what yours was compared to the other ones. Like I can't really. I was like, it sounds like different. And when
Muffled,
I really
yeah.
listened, I was like,
Right.
oh, that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's like
Nice. Way sweet. I'm glad you like it.
no, I like it a lot. So I'm stoked. I didn't realize you were that balls deep in the music engineering realm too.
I taught myself it from the get-go doing like community theater and like mixing my friend's band and stuff. And then I built up and built up and ended up at regional Shakespeare levels and then built up past there and ended up going to school for it and then finding somewhere where I could just say, cool, here's Pro Tools and here's the book. I'm going to learn it. And I had an awesome professor. So yeah, I've kind of caught that Bill Hicks wave.
Uh-huh.
All matter is just vibration. So audio science made sense to me to be the vibrational study because audio is tertiary, it's temporary, like, and then the sound's gone. Whereas art is still there, but our lives are temporary, like we live and then we're gone, just like the clap of a hand. So that kind of science, I think, is really telling when you talk to musicians who really take music seriously, because every song is like an entire lifetime. But yeah, man, I'm totally down to collaborate. I've got like, say about 12 hours of DJ mixes on like Mixcloud and SoundCloud and stuff. I've just got tons of stuff out that I put out over the years because I'm more than a decade deep in this. So be excited for more sounds.
I know. I was gonna say. I remember you telling me about that last time, and then I got those tracks back. I was like, "Oh, that's right," because I remember you telling me all this shit you had backed up.
Word, no worries, no worries. I want to touch on real quick because we got the link in the Zoom, and I want to put the link for the peeps that now we be connected to the book. So, what you think of this book?
Let me pull your screen. I'm all over the place. What book? Oh, that book. It's good, dude. It's good, especially because I just posted that, like I told you earlier, the last video I released on my YouTube channel is pulled directly from that book. And it was Atticus was describing more or less how the gods work, and how all the pantheons work, and the character in it was saying, well, do they all exist? And Atticus was like, yeah, they all exist to a certain degree, but they'll manifest here as people believe them to manifest. So Jesus never likes to come down because we have the image of him being nailed to a cross, or like he's got holes in his hands and
Right.
his feet from the stigmata, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, fuck that, I'm just not going to go down there because that's how they see me. And so it was just really like gods are sustained by the people I'm going to raise.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I think it's also interesting the idea that maybe he could show up as a carpenter sometime.
I
Maybe there's the
know.
rare time he can show up as a little baby, but most of the time he's just got to be a dude in tons of pain.
I know, ton. Oh man, I posted a meme on my Instagram the other day, and it was a couple aliens, and they walk up to a statue of a crucifixion, and they're like, one looks the other, and he says, "You know what I think? I think we should get the fuck out of here." It was like,
Right? Dang.
it was like, yeah, down. These guys nail people to crosses and then worship them for thousands of years.
Right.
Let's get the hell off of this planet immediately.
For sure, for sure. And as far as symbolism goes, like there's the idea that the cross itself is like a box, it's a cube. And so you can take the long end of the cross and fold it by ratio and fold it up, and then the top part of the cross folds down.
I don't see it as too much of a cube because it's lopsided. So it's more of a rectangle, you know what I mean? Because the cross isn't even, it doesn't make a square. The cross is offset.
There's a cap over the top. Because so there's one panel of the top, and then one panel on the side, and one panel on the side, and then there has to be 3 panels on the bottom so it can fold up and then over again.
Okay, I guess I was seeing a rectangle, but I guess a 3D rectangle is still a cube, right? Is that how that works?
Truth. Yeah. the dimensions of it have rectangular faces, but it still has 4 different sides. For sure. So that is connected in some ideas to the tesseract. Or I reframe that as the cubic centimeter of chance. And I think that there's just a cubic centimeter of chance that floats around the universe that randomly shows up and allows crazy things to happen, but then it's gone again, and you never can keep track of it. So when you talk about individuals who follow the symbolism of like the cross per se, those are different types of people than those who follow other symbolism, like the praying hands, or like the crown of thorns, or like the white dove. All of those would be different types of symbolism that are still following that same particular lineage, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's interesting. They are all sort of things that we worship in a way, huh?
For sure. And in my mind, there are people in my life, a good friend of mine, Kagan, specifically, who reminds me of Jesus. He's just a construction engineer dude, square jaw, built, plays trumpet, respectful, honorable
plays
dude.
Trumpet too.
Yeah, and I figure if anything would go wrong, that would be one of the people I immediately turn to, because he's just got like Christ-like frequency, but he's not very religious. So there's that kind of bashful artistry that came through when I started hanging out. I was like, "What? You play the horn? You play the trumpet? Come on, play some, play some." He was like, "I'm out of practice." I was like, "No, dude, rip it up!" And whew, it was insane. Like, I'm forever inspired when people want to share music, because that's art in motion, you know?
Yeah, it is art in motion. Let me ask you this: do you think people are? How do I word this? You were talking about Jesus manifesting as a certain way. Damn, I forgot what I was going to say. I wrote it down, but I wrote it down halfway, and I tried to read it.
If I'm going to intuit what your question might be pointed towards, it's going to be, if people are utilizing a symbol to manifest Jesus as the dude in a whole bunch of pain, is that somehow affecting the concept of what he is, rather than allowing the dude who's the carpenter and the dude flipping over tables in the church and the little baby? Is that not being allowed? Is that kind of what you were pointing at?
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to ask further, do you think these people are raised like Jesus and how we see him in that certain way? Do we give them that power? Do you see Jesus as existing because we continue to believe in him and gave him that power? Or do you think if, say, he would have died, if he was really begin with, and we never would have got the word out, would Jesus still be the savior? You know what I mean? Like, would he be an objective savior if we didn't believe in him? Like, what are your stances on that, in that religious sort of
Well, I think that you're definitely hitting the nail on the head with the fact that because you imbue somebody with the office, they then have the office.
Uh-huh.
So because we have this idea that somebody's going to come save us, the whole world is kind of framed around a narrative that has savior and then victim mentality built in.
Uh-huh.
Now, whether or not this is ingrained in our genetics or it's something that's more a result of the choices that our ancestors made to get here is kind of a toss up because we don't
Mm-hmm.
have the metrics to measure that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I meet individuals who are acting in a Christ-like fashion, they're emulating Jesus in that way rather than saying what he said, like they're doing what he did. There's two flavors, and it's the flavor of people who knew it and they're just acting that way because that's how they be. And then there's the flavor of people who learned it.
Uh-huh.
And neither of them are better. It's just some people come in kind of getting it and knowing how to be respectful and honorable. And in some texts, those individuals were considered a separate group that then got integrated with the Christians through time.
Uh-huh.
So Greg Braden would say that they're the Essenes. And the Essene mysteries were the people who just understood Jesus' message before having to hear it. And then over time, they kind of got grouped in with that idea because they were already practicing so much of that dogma or rhetoric. Does that make any sense?
100%.
Word. I think it's the same thing that gives the celebrities the power. I mean, we got some celebrities that have a whole bunch of power, and that power is arguably only there because the fans are giving it to them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So, what do you think?
Um, I, uh, I'm not sure. I think that, um, I don't know. I guess it's hard to say what's real and what's not. It's like, what do I really believe is why that question is so hard. Because it's like, I don't really believe in Jesus to make that. Like, do I believe, and I know, do I believe that he exists even if people want him to exist? You know what I mean? It's hard to,
Okay. Do
that's
you
why I
believe?
ask you that question, ask people that question so much, because it's like God's big G and little g pop up and disappear all over the fucking place. And it's like, does that mean that there absolutely is one and we just keep giving it different names because we inherently know that there's something there? Or is it like, are we the gods, and or is there no such thing, or do they manifest because people give them the power, like we're this conversation that we're having where it's like, oh, we had a cool guy who did some cool things and we worshipped him so hard that we changed the fabric of reality and ascended this entity into a fucking Christ-like glowing image that pervades through time and space.
So much so would I agree with that. That would be how the human monkeys got into our humanness. We
Mm,
believe that something of our societal culture was advanced or compassionate or light enough that all of a sudden we emerged from being the Homo erectus into being Homo
yeah,
sapiens, because now we're
yeah.
talking about genetic and cellular knowledge being expressed through the testament of time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's Yeah, that's a good point. So you're sort of correlating the advancement of the physical human evolution by its spiritual needs or wants of expression, more or less.
Absolutely. And this is going to reference, so I'm going to begin pulling a lot of energy out of a book series called the Jump 225 trilogy. It's a business sci-fi, really crazy, thrillery, kind of beautiful mind book series by an author named David Lewis Edelman. And it has a principle that's very good to introduce right here. Now, if you change the brain, the body will follow. Meaning, if you decide that you're going to do a new behavior, your body's going to follow your brain, right?
Mm.
Okay. And then if you change your body, meaning like if you add, 5 push-ups and sit-ups every day, your brain's going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes change the body, the mind will follow.
Mm-hmm.
Change the mind, the body will follow. So I think that it becomes a chicken and egg argument on some level because they're
Yeah.
happening simultaneously. Do you hear what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
So that would predicate that there's a level of seeking understanding. We would want to understand, that's why we would make art. That's why we would want to make things.
Mm.
Because we're trying to understand ourselves and kind of have that experience. We know that as a collective, we're larger than ourselves, but as ourselves, we cannot experience ourselves. We have to experience the world. Like Keith, you can't go and meet Keith on the street.
No, I can't, and it bums me out.
Dang. So what that could be is that could show you that every single person that you meet is now Keith.
I can, under that lens, makes a lot more sense by trying to see other people as me, because I've heard that said before, and up until just now it always seemed like this fucking abstract, like, all right, I guess I can do that. Obviously it's not me. I get it, it's me, but it's also not at all me, you know what I mean? But under that, how you just said it is nice. I like that.
For
Earlier
sure.
today, I was playing. I've been learning how to play this Egyptian ney, this Egyptian flute.
Okay.
And it's been I've been fucking killing it, dude. Just this past.
Is it nearby?
It's yeah, it is.
Could you play a little bit? I want to hear what it sounds like.
Oh, dude. Yeah. All right, I'll go.
Sweet.
Dude, I'm about to play the shit out of this thing. Hey, my boy.
I want to take this time to tell everybody who's listening to make sure to click the like on the video and the subscribe to the Man of Letters, and then the little bell that says you get the notifications so that when he does the content, it's super duper dope. I look forward to expanding the conversation with more individuals connected to the Man of Letters, and it will be fun to see what direction we decide all to go together. So anybody who has musical suggestions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Anybody who has book suggestions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I know that there's a Patreon for Man of Letters. I think that there's a Discord for Man of Letters. And there's the Etsy. So check out the Etsy shop for Man of Letters as well.
Sorry, the fam came home. Well,
No, you're good.
This because he doesn't want to take a bath. He's like, fuck all you guys. I don't want to.
I'm also making a shout out real quick to Alchemy of Life, who said he's getting more elixirs in the shop. So I want to make sure that we get that on the press as well.
Yeah, you said something in passing on IG the other day, Alchemy, if you're in here, about putting that gold and silver extract on your plants, and I need to give that a shot. That sounds awesome. I definitely got to do that. Is he in the room?
He dropped a chat for sure.
Dope. Okay. But yeah, earlier I was playing the flute, and I was like, it sounds cool, but it doesn't. It never sounds as cool when you're listening to someone else play it. You know what I mean? Like to be experiencing someone play something, and you're just like, oh. But when I play piano, when I play instruments, I don't know, like I don't see what it sounds like to other people, and it kind of bums me out. I get it in videos when I watch myself on video, like, oh, that actually sounds really cool live, but it's not the same. It's a video, you know.
So would you believe that it might be possible to enter a meditative state before you start playing, so therefore you could be present to listen to your own playing?
I've never made that a point, or even thought it was a thing.
Definitely. It'd be a expanded level of presence. Like that bardic mystery when you're channeling stuff. But I'm ready. Listening. Go ahead.
All right. Might take me a second to figure out one, but Egyptian ney. It's like one of the coolest buys I've made in the past like year.
Where did you find that? Where did you hear about that?
I found it. I used the man who made that flute in the Emerald Tablets video I did, and a ton of other videos. Whenever you hear background flute in my videos, that dude slang on YouTube was where I got like half that music from. And his name is Eric the Flute Maker. He's on YouTube, and he basically takes flutes from around the world and makes his own version of them out of bamboo, and makes them mostly as side blown flutes, so that like the actual Egyptian name has a wild ass where it's like you whistle into it from like a weird corner of the flute. Um, but he basically gave it the scale of that. I think what is like a harmonic minor, almost one of those like Middle Eastern scales.
For sure, it sounds a little flatter
Yeah,
and
and
hollow in a way.
yeah, hollow. There you go. Maybe that's why I had the hollow on my mind. But yes, and I just fucking I loved it. And he's like, I make these flutes, I sell them. It's my passion. And for maybe a good 6-8 months, man, I've been like, I'm gonna do it. And I finally pulled the trigger and just bought it. And I've been playing the hell out of it these past couple of days trying to learn it.
Nice, good things.
Yeah, they're fun, man. It's cool. I'm like, oh, it'd be so convenient to walk out into the woods and play this more than a friggin' fat instrument, fat guitar or ukulele or something.
For sure, there's a practicality for the wind stuff. Like, got a little ocarina. So I'll throw something together. I've only got like 2 notes of it so far. It's different practical sounds, right?
Beatboxing the wind flute, man, the windpipe.
Cat life. What other instruments are you playing? You got guitar. I know I've seen you walk around with that.
Yeah, I play guitar a little bit. I can get by with the guitar. I play mostly the piano is my main squeeze, and then the ukulele I play a lot of. And I can fiddle on the bass. I can fiddle on the guitar. That's pretty much it, though. That's about it.
Nice, for sure, for sure. So you're looking at mostly treble.
Yeah, yeah, actually.
Very good. Just a different way of seeing the spaces and lines. When people are
I
running
know.
it mostly in bass clef, it's a different game. So if you get me behind the ivory keys, I'm only doing pentatonic. I can sit behind a piano and I only play the black keys, and I can make some of the coolest little ditties. But as soon as I touch any of the white keys, I got nothing.
That's funny.
So it's doing enough sound checks. I just had to figure out how to make music so that it sounded like music, but it didn't actually have to be music.
Yeah, but yeah. You were doing sound check. That's a whole nother ballgame. I've seen those master boards, and I didn't realize until within the past year, man, that the live sound engineers are doing EQ shit 24/7 during the good ones. Like, oh, that bass is a little weird. We're gonna tweak that. All right, she's singing now. I'm gonna change the sound of the entire band, and then hers to make her harmonies come through. You know, I was like, damn, I thought you were just volume here and there. Maybe we'll raise this guy up, lower her a little bit.
It's an active participation role, definitely. I remember when I was coming up in theater and coming up in music, there were some times when there was a musical and people would go on stage and you'd have to put all the mics there and leave them there for the whole song. And they'd be like, no, we can't do that. The person who's playing Gaston is singing really loud. We have to turn him down. Or the person who's singing Farmer John isn't singing loud enough. We have to turn them up. And it eventually became some kind of automating, learning to change levels live, which has evolved a whole lot in the direction that we are now. So it's a fun art project to live life on purpose. And that's to me what audio engineering is in some ways. You're mixing on purpose, because you could just set the levels and forget it. But if you're actively listening, you're mixing and you're listening to your own mix so that you can get to live the experience that you're making. Kind of like if you get in enough of the zone, if you're just jamming, you're just playing, got like a hat out or whatever, and you're just jamming out and going, you can actually meditatively get to a place where you can view yourself doing that again. Do you know what I mean?
I'll say that again.
If you are so much in flow and so much in sharing your art that you're able to zoom out, it just makes it practical. So 1 second, this cat's
I can hear
having a hard time.
What up, squad? Galactic Goddess, Alchemy of Life, Okjari Drogon. How y'all doing out there? Nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. Amadeus, much love. Gentile man. Oh, the Men of ZYX collab album confirmed. Damn. Yeah, I gotta. All right, we gotta. That's too funny. Yes, I'm super down. I'm about to ask. Whoops. I'm about to ask Richie if he wants in on that too. The glory goes to the wrong dude. Nathan Hoff, good point. Thank you for mentioning that. Reading your guys' comments to see if there's anything else. Jude, the Book of Earth, Palladian Keys of the Living Library. I guess with Q, all you have to do is trust himself and not worry about how the bills will be paid. You guys hear the little bubbles in the background?
Bless has returned. What's this? Commenting? You're going through comment patch?
I was, yeah. Someone said confirm for. Let me read it. The Men of ZYX collab album confirmed? Question mark.
Man of ZXY. So you got to have those in two different fonts. So it's like the man of letters, or it could be the letters of ZXY.
Oh, that's good. That would make more sense.
For sure. I think if anything, we got to start at like EP, start small.
Yeah.
Stuff, throw there, and then go forward. Maybe a single. Who knows?
I was gonna say it's either one or three. It's either we come in with one heat or we give them a solid three, but we can start with one.
Very sweet. For sure. I'm down.
Yeah, that sounds that. Confirmed. Consider it confirmed, y'all. But yeah, I was browsing through the comment. I actually hadn't looked this whole time.
No worries. No worries.
If there was anything that you wanted to go over in the comments, feel free though. I didn't see if anyone was asking questions. They usually are. So sorry if I ignored you guys with the questions and whatnot.
No worries. I'll touch lightly on the topic of what Q's throwing down. I'm keeping an eye out for what Q Reeves has got thrown together, and a lot of where I'm finding his energy is most resonant, from my experience, is that he's very crown heavy.
Mm-hmm.
He's running a lot of knowledge, a lot of I'm getting this channel, this pipeline coming in straight through.
Yeah, and he is.
A lot of the style that he uses is very chaotic. Sometimes he'll throw a lot of words and he'll say 6 words when 2 would have done, but then he has to say another 8 to clean up for the last 5 that he said because he didn't mean them, but he said them. And as much as I enjoy that kind of dialogue and discourse, I don't have extra rounds in my clip to be able to talk that freely to people all the time. Does that make sense? So I really appreciate what he's about. I like a lot of his message, and sometimes going on lives, driving through his world and life is very surreal for me because it's kind of got that influencer kind of vibe. But on the same token, everybody needs somebody to look up to. So as much as I might not resonate with all of his message, I know that there are some people who resonate with enough of his message. And I don't see any particularly gnarly bits. A lot of it has to do with, yeah, you can have faith that it's going to work as long as you're doing the work. And I think sometimes people forget the doing the work part, and they want to just believe they're going to win the lotto and then forget to buy a ticket kind of deal.
You know what's low key's hard about that though that I realize is it's not low key don't want to do the work. It's low key if I do the work, then it's like, oh, it wasn't magical at all. I just had to do these things and that was it.
For sure. I guess in my mind that would redefine how you're using the word magic. Because to me, like there's some things that are magic because I did the work. And the magic part is other people ain't going to do the work.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, though. Then it's like, all right, okay. But like, I'm not saying that's a valid excuse or that it was big enough to stop me from things. It was a peculiar thing that I noticed because you know how you don't want to acknowledge things because you're afraid of what you'll find, but what you end up finding is not at all what you thought was there. It was something way different that wasn't as bad, but sometimes even interesting. Like, oh, that was just because I operate a certain way. It wasn't bad or good. It was just like that's just how it was, and didn't realize it because I didn't fucking look at it. And so that's what I noticed too. Was like it was like, oh, there's no such thing as mind, but you just have to do the work anyways. And it's like, well, then what was mind? What was all that talk on the hocus pocus and shit like that? You know what I mean?
Yes, mind was the engine that got the work done.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think there's this weird thing that happens where if people go through a hard time or they go through a traumatic experience, instead of being traumatized by the trauma, I find a lot of times people are traumatized by the idea of being traumatized.
Uh-huh.
And so I gotta reframe, and it's been a hard one for me to personally process because it really says that everybody has to go through trauma to be a person. Now, the degrees and depth and impact of that trauma are going to change. Maybe there's a car wreck, like a really big physical trauma that happens in somebody's life, but they weren't really in their body, like they weren't paying attention to their body and health. So that could have been something that helped them kind of tune back in.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's an individual who is doing lots and lots and lots of traveling, and then all of a sudden has a traumatic experience on the home front, and then has to realize that they've never been home, so they don't know what they're supposed to do because they've always been on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I've yet to meet any person who doesn't have any life traumas. They're all just different.
I was about to ask you if you could imagine in your head what would someone look like who didn't have trauma. Would you can't exist? Would you just what would that look like to you?
That would be the trauma.
Not having any trauma. I guess.
You've heard about the birds that are raised in captivity that when the door opens, they just stay inside the cage because their brain automatically paints over thinking that they're still trapped in?
Yeah, I've heard that in context of the elephant though, where they stake it as a child,
Sure.
as a baby elephant, and then they just tie it down with a rope as full-grown elephants, and they don't.
Right, for sure. Same with dogs. Same with people. You can tell somebody something that's a negative code or a negative program, and if they're impressible, they could carry that for the rest of their life and even maybe give it to somebody else. But the same goes if you have presence or forgiveness or awareness or compassion or the hardest, patience.
Mm-hmm.
If you have those things, then when you're extra patient with somebody who hasn't had that patience, maybe in a couple life forests rather than family trees, like going really far back, they've just always been expecting a lot of themselves and they've never been patient and never given themselves a break for messing anything up ever.
Uh-huh.
Maybe, got to go through some kind of traumatic experience to shake up that experience so that the pieces may fall a little more naturally like a bone to set.
Almost like it's the only way it would have happened, period.
And all that, again, has to do with perspective. Because if you look in nature and you look at the animals who have traumatic experiences without an egoic frame, are they going to be seeking like badger therapy when they're older because things didn't go well in their badger upbringing? Like, are creatures, is an elephant going to have like regular physical therapy to try to get beyond its comfort zone because it's believing there's not the impetus for healing? And there's a lot of people who know their diet's bad or their lifestyle choices are bad or something that they're doing they'd rather not do. They lack the impetus. They lack the initiative to do anything about it. And so that's why I say a lot of the spiritual stuff in my mind is actually just the engine. We all know the steps. If you want to do something, it's easy. You look up how to do it or you reverse engineer it. The harder part is to activate the will within yourself to begin that process as a process.
Well, what that tells me is that, and not tells me, but makes me think maybe spirituality in its form now is an excuse not to put things into action.
So what would that frame give the concept of who Gandhi was and what he did societally?
Well, when did Gandhi come up? Like what era? I would say maybe his era needed the mental stimulation first,
Fair. Well, Gandhi came up, as I understand, and decided to go to the Western world to get educated.
Uh-huh.
And then to go back to the non-educated world and to see how bad things were. And then to act as a buffer between. Huh?
He didn't come back to teach, but more so just to make a comparison?
I don't know if the intention was to teach, but I know upon returning, the impact was a traumatic one.
Uh-huh.
And that's part of why he led the march to the beach so that people could collect their own salt rather than having the British salt tax. So there's a lot of just simple cultures that were being taken advantage of because the simple cultures didn't realize that there was complexity available.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody's going through their life in a simple way, and this isn't bagging on numbers, I love numbers, don't get me wrong. But if somebody's going on and saying, I would like a number 5, oh, can I get 3 of those? Oh, it's $6.99, and their whole life is dictated by numbers.
Damn,
They're
you just fucked my whole
living,
shit up right now.
huh?
You just fucked my whole shit up right now.
I'm glad. That means that they're living in the illusion of that those numbers are actually quantifiable things.
Uh-huh.
But the numbers are placeholders, they're reference parts.
Uh-huh.
So actual quantifiable things are your friends, are things in your garden, are the things physically around you because you quantify them. Hey, you look healthier today. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you're standing up today. Everything, are you good? Oh, wow. Thank you for that thing that you said. It really made a difference. You can quantify, you can measure those. But if you're always ordering a number 6, or you really like the number 12, or your brain is constantly thinking that you need to get this many of that, or have these many numbers in that many places, it's a dissociation from the illusion that we're in and an association with the concept that those numbers and their correlated spreadsheets are of a higher value than the external experience. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So what do you think if it's such a detrimental thing? Why do you think we evolved number? Because they're excellent placeholders. They do their job
Right. And
exceptionally well. Like, how do we
I
get
would,
away from that?
for sure, I'd say it's only detrimental if you're trying to have training wheels on a dirt bike.
So what would next level numbers be? What would dirt bike numbers be?
Dirt bikes don't need training wheels. You're saying that you need capital training wheels. You don't. Once you understand the concept of numbers as placeholders and the idea of quantification within yourself, you begin to resonate at a frequency where you can adjust your capacitance. One example would be when you're around your family, you're at one capacity. When you're around a room of strangers, you're at a different capacity. When you're around a room of people who you love like family, but they're not family, you're at another capacity. That's your capacitance. It's how much energy you're changing. So if people are convinced that the numbers are the important thing, they're going to be kind of locked into numerical realities. When you see that the things that the numbers point to are more important than the numbers themselves, the picture changes. Because it's not that you need a certain number of things, it's that you need enough to do the other thing.
Uh-huh.
It's not that the number is as important as what the number represents. Like if somebody said they needed 50 gallons of water, the 50 isn't the important part. The a lot of water is the important part.
We need a lot of water.
Right. So I'd say that a lot of individuals tend to, and this is a tendency thing, they tend to look at any spiritual path as like a map that's going to get them to a destination.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of seeing the spiritual path as the medium to make the art in.
Ooh, I like that. Which would fit nicely with why there's so many different religions, because they're all just different ways of painting the canvas.
And sculpting and doing interpretive dance and weaving baskets underwater and playing Battleship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Gnostic approach, if you want to use the term Gnostic for the meaning that says that it's a form of knowing, like gnosis is when you know something and you're not sure why you know it.
Mm-hmm.
A Gnostic would be somebody who pursues knowing. And that means they may have to read a lot of books or they may have to trust their instincts a lot. But the Gnostic approach would say that the answer and the problem are said in the same breath. So
Yeah, 100%.
while the factor of playing
100%.
the factor of playing music is not the same as listening to music, the more you play it, the better you are able to listen when listening is the time.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
Right. So living as a spiritual person, according to whatever concepts, or if you're a cat shaman or you follow the totem of a frog, it doesn't matter. If you're embodying that, that means that every other spiritual pathway will now have some canvas to have potential validity on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you aren't even practicing atheist dreadnought, like if you're not even practicing no belief, there's going to be a hard time for people to talk with you about what their beliefs are, even if they are, huggers of the trees or people who can never crush a caterpillar because they like them. Like there's all different levels to it. It really boils down to what you're doing. Yo, Agent Smith's here. Shout.
Yeah, and it's 808, which is my number, by the way. Sir Smith, nice, well played. Well played. Agent Smith, you're late. That's funny. Oh man, I was gonna bring something up and it slipped out again. Some bitch. It was good too. What were we
Gotcha.
talking about? Run that back. Run that in reverse.
The medium is the message. So when people are
Yeah.
expressing their creative will and their creative life, how they express it is what it is. It's also a phrase you can use. Processing is participation. So if you're participating in a situation, you're processing energy for it.
Oh, that's right. Music.
And if you're processing energy for it, you're therefore participating in it. That's a Robert Anton Wilson.
Nice. I remember what I was saying now. Thank you for that. It
Sure.
was you said if your struggle is playing music but not being able to hear yourself, and it's opposite of listening to music and hearing it more when you do play music. Most I don't realize, but now I'm going to make a habit of doing it. Is if it's hard for me to play music and hear myself as I'm doing it, then practice on the other side. Like now when I'm listening to music, do my best if I like, all right, this is if I can make up on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
really pay attention to. It's really funny. I even what do you call it? Spur the moment buy. There's a marketing term for it. When they get you to buy something on the go. Anywho, I did that with one of those fucking master classes, and it was this guy talking about playing the piano with passion, and what he was putting down was exactly that. Was how do you was playing music as if the way you play it when no one's there. Like that's what I picked up from it. I was like that. As I always say that because I'm always like I said, like by candlelight in a dark room by myself. No one will ever hear what it sounds like for me to do that because I never play like that when there's people around. And
Sure.
it's a bummer, you know what I mean? So
Right, right. And maybe that's something as an exercise you may do is to isolate that specific frequency of consciousness that you're talking about, the
yeah.
candlelit in a dark space, and
Uh-huh.
find things that will remind you or bring you into that, whether it's smells, whether it's textures, whether it's other sounds or like Halloween ambient tracks. You put those
Yeah.
together, and you should be able to isolate that frequency in your body as it reappears. It's the same thing that Olympic performers are doing when the Olympic athletes are getting ready. They optimize, they get back in the zone, they relive in that state.
Yeah.
This is known. The success coaching all around the world has to do with getting CEOs and business managers to first identify what their objectives are. Second, identify what their ideal state is. And third, change their present state to their ideal state without having to understand why their present state is their present state. Sometimes you're just sad, or sometimes you're just angry, and that's okay. If you
uh,
have to understand it, that means that you have to do that before you can let go of it.
uh-huh.
So, when I remember learning music, specifically as you're talking about sharing as though nobody's listening, I
Hmm.
was reminded of being in fourth grade when I was practicing the violin. And it was very awkward and weird. And I
Hmm.
felt like I was really strange. And it didn't make sense to me until I realized that there was a small window of time that I could practice that nobody was home. And when I practiced during that time, I got better because I wasn't so upset about me feeling like the people in the other room were going to hear the bow run across the strings. And I
Uh-huh.
was more focused on learning how to play whatever song I was learning.
100% the hiccup is the judgment that you're getting while you're playing. 100%. Like
For sure.
that's because that's what I'm hearing. I'm like, oh, maybe they don't like this because the
Right.
tendency of me doing this, maybe they don't like that, and they like this kind of tendency, so I'll play that because they're listening. You know what I mean?
And whenever that judge happens, I would suggest you say, and what if they do?
I
What if
like
they
that better
what if
than
they
what
don't
I've
like
been
this? Well, what if
doing.
they do? Well, what if they do? What if they don't? Okay, well, do I trust that the people would tell me?
It's a good
Sometimes you share
question.
sometimes you share a piece of music with somebody and you're like, what do you think? And they're just like, and so I remember distinctly sharing a piece of music with someone and they told me that's not music. And I was like, well, I know it's kind of like soundscapey, John Cagey ambient stuff, but it's still
uh,
music to me.
you're like, damn. I mean, yeah, but not really.
For sure. And what that ended up evolving is I realized the person who gave me that feedback was very much like a deadhead, like into the old school rebellious rock, and then had a powerful life traumatic experience where they were born again.
Uh-huh.
And that being born again experience, I noticed kind of stapled down what normal was to them. And so I
Mm.
think we have to kind of figure out in a society what's the difference between normal and tolerable. Because normal is for a lot of people going to church. They go to church and they whatever do the things, but the tolerability would be: are they in church watching football on their phone?
Damn.
Because you could be at church, sure, but are you really there? If you're really present, you're doing your mantras and your prayers, even at home. You remember that Earth is where the church is. It doesn't matter what room or what building or what state or what time zone. If you're present in this dimension of the dream, power's in your court, yo. However, if you think the power's on the other side of the slablet or the screen or the light box or whatever, that means that you're surrendering your authority to an external locus of control. And arguably that would be the point of religion, would to be to restore and imbue the locus of control internally through the empowerment of education. But that would be religare releasing, or religion kind of boiled down to where it comes from. You're giving the power back to the people.
All right, so I know the answer is yes, but I guess how would it show up for you is you just said shifting the focus to being on the individual, but at some point that has to become imbalanced, right? Like it can't be solely like is there must be a tipping point where it's too much individual, right? At some point where it has to be balanced out. Are you like are you afraid if people take that it becomes a little too egotistical, a little too well everything's relative and it's just your trigger that you're dealing with, not me, kind of kind of shit.
Totally, totally. I think specifically that would be the individual through a microscope. And what I'm
Uh-huh.
talking about is the individual through maybe a magnifying glass, or maybe a pane of glass, or maybe like an ant farm, or the individual through binoculars. Because
Mm-hmm.
individuals far away are surrounded by a bunch of other individuals. And the
Okay.
individual choices that you make at a distance affect the individual choices in your individual world. That's the crime, really, of our society, is we were convinced that by holding a video game controller and by shooting a little bomb at somebody on TV that was on the other half of the world, that they didn't actually die. They did die. We did kill them. But we were convincing ourselves that that didn't happen. That somehow, no, that wasn't real. So the dissociation would be that Netflix and Hulu and all these streaming services and all these advertisements are teaching us to dissociate, whereas we're fighting tooth and nail to teach each other to associate. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, but throwing a wrench in your machine here.
Take it.
Netflix still given its not propaganda, but it's persuasive material. But they did the opposite of what you just said, because I watched this series that was super cool and it went by so fast I don't remember the name, but I'm sure a quick Google search should lead you there because it's worth watching. It was these kids that they were training to be military, and so they run the kids through all these simulations and the best one gets promoted. It's a mock military with children, and they're probably
Mm-hmm.
fourth, fifth, sixth grade. um, and they run a simulation. Kids like, all right, we got to do this, and the commanders are watching, and the kids are like, oh well, don't do that, like you're gonna sacrifice half the fleet if you do that. And he's like, well, fuck it, like just run it. We got to take out this world, like whatever. We sacrifice half the fleet, we sacrifice half the fleet, but we come out with a W.
Ender's Game is
um,
the movie.
what's that?
Ender's Game.
Is that what it is? And it turns out, yeah, and it turns out that the kids, spoiler alert, that the kids were actually doing a real life scenario, and that the reason why they use children is because they don't let they were like machines, basically. They knew they would make the decision to get the W at all costs. And so the
Mm-hmm.
kids in real life killed half the fucking armada. And even the generals were like, yo, we can't do this. Some of them were like, pull the plug, no. And the main general was like, nope, let the kid make the choice. And he did it. And yeah, and they won. They killed the bad guys. And but yeah, it was telling. It was telling. And so it makes me think, well, they're telling you. I do believe Netflix is persuading to the dark side, but they're still telling you more or less exactly what you just said, but they made a good TV series out of it at the same time.
Can you tell me what country the Netflix servers are on?
No idea.
Okay. Can you tell me who Netflix pays for power or for its internet connection?
No.
Okay. I therefore think that the corporation of Netflix is stronger than any human being could be. Therefore, they are an antagonist in this dimension. They may give us good things, sure, but the
Uh-huh.
belief power that they have. Uh, would you rather be spending your money on a Netflix subscription or a subscription to your local farmer's market?
If I'm answering honestly, I would be a hard choice.
Honestly, make the hard choice because some of those people need that money to eat, and some of those people need that money for their company. Now,
Oh
nothing against the
yeah.
data, nothing against the information. You could find other streaming services and other
Yeah,
people's
that's what I was
platforms and
saying. I was like, I
computers.
could find other ones. It'd be a hard choice. I'd pick
Good,
Farmers Market, but I do really enjoy Netflix. I do like come across a lot of cool, interesting shit in
good.
Netflix.
And I think that now we're talking about cinema, and we're just referring to Netflix as a thing. Because would you really stick up for Blockbuster this hard?
No.
Okay, but like for some reason, Netflix is getting this kind of badge. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nothing against the streaming media as a principle, because if
Uh-huh,
it's coming from
uh-huh.
Vimeo or Netflix or
Fair,
DLive or BitChute or Library or whatever, it
fair.
doesn't matter. The fact that we're watching animated pixels coming through the screen is activating our eyeballs so that we're having a pupil dilation that causes us to go into a responsive reactive mode. So we're
Enter into a whole
resisting
nother world.
exactly the light world.
The life.
And when you're playing music by candlelight, you're coming into the dark world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot
So
of people
10
go ahead.
bucks to the farmer's market.
Dang, for sure. $10 to the farmer's market and a coupon code for reduced Netflix for a year, for sure.
There you go. Yeah. I'll shout you
Mm-hmm.
guys out, Netflix.
I think it's very telling when individuals have beliefs that when they're questioned about, they explode. If you have a belief, you should be able to be questioned about it and then to be able to explain why that's your belief.
Mm-hmm.
And then there can be a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're saying that, no, this is my belief, and somebody says, well, what about that other holy book? And you go, bang! Like, whoa! Wait a minute, they just asked what you think of the Gita. These are okay, but the responsibility would be how to respond reactively.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I was going to add to that is what most people don't realize is it's actually really, it can be really fun if you accept that dialogue and that conversation, because most of the conversations we have are fucking, they're so, it really is like the movies, man. It's like weather or what do you do, or like just the same, what'd you go to, what high school did you go to, like the same old shit, man. And so like
Right.
to have a conversation of your beliefs as far back as your first memory compared to someone else's, and your experiences and where you've been and like how you see the world, and now bumping that up into another real life human being who's got his own set of things, and like to have that dialogue is like is what life is. That's when you make those serious connections. And so so you cut off so much by like by not accepting that, by just giving into the explosions that you're talking about. It's cool. It's super fucking cool.
Definitely, for sure. And I'd say a way to maybe quantify that or to revisit that idea in a different skin would be when you're sharing words with people, some people can only use AA batteries. So they only want to talk about AA battery topics. How's the weather? How's the sports team? How's that thing? Other people got like AAAs, you know? How's your fancy car? How are your new kicks? That kind of thing. Every once in a while, you meet somebody who's got like a watch battery or something like that. Like, oh, that's a nice tattoo you got there. You know what I mean? They'll make a comment. But then when you actually get to know people, you're like taking out diodes and like connecting for electricity because maybe they got a lot to share that time and you don't got much to share. Or maybe you're seeking them out because you got to unload some and you know that they're happy to receive and to redirect that current through the relation. I think because it's a transactional based world that we're living in, meaning a lot of times it's I'll give you this and you give me that. The human interaction has been boiled down to the commonality of exchange. Now, like computer piracy, good ideas can be copied and not stolen. Because if somebody has a neat idea and you duplicate the idea and execute it, it's possible for the original idea not to be hindered or impacted negatively. Now, it is possible to take the idea and then like to crush the original idea and like have it like chiropractic. You hear about the chiropractic thing?
No.
Dang, so apparently chiropractic was created and invented. I got to research this to make sure that I'm shooting all through it by a dude who studied magnetic therapy. Like he was healing with magnets. And then he learned like, wait, if you just pop your back, it does some stuff. And then the dude's son like ran him over with a truck.
I just heard this story within the past like 48 hours, I swear. That's crazy.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We're on similar feeds. But that idea would have to do with the authority of the knowledge. Like if you're saying that you're playing music and it heals you, that's great. If you're saying that you're working in a garden and it heals you, it's great. If you're just saying that you're magically being healed and you don't know why, all three of these are true. when people credit and say that is the problem or this is the problem or it's externally, they're losing the opportunity to say, within me, there's something I'm not pleased with. So maybe I can make a new choice and maybe I'll be better.
Uh-huh.
In your mind right now, Keith, and this is segueing just to another neutral, what would be the smallest change that you could make that would have the largest positive impact in your life?
What would be a new one? I think slowing down a bit
What would you say your tempo is right now,
here and
usually?
there.
Your tempo's
Average, like my average over every day.
Huh?
It's pretty quick. It's not redlining, but it's high all the time.
Okay. So do you think it'd be easier to slow it down a little bit or to take a little while and go at half speed?
I guess I would associate both of those with being the same. What are you saying the difference is?
Slowing down a little bit would take, if you're at 80% now, try to do the entire day at 75.
Uh-huh.
Or have the day at 80 and then have 2 hours that are at 40.
The latter.
Okay. So now it's going to be a matter of you deciding when you're going to allow yourself to rest. Because it sounds like you're just not giving yourself breaks, bruv.
Yeah.
What good is a car with no brakes, bruv?
And what I was doing recently was playing video games for a break, which was nice. But now it feels like video games are something else these days, dude. It's not, you don't take a break when you're playing a video game. You're just you're just dialed in. So I get doing video games and I'm like, oh fuck, like I need to sit down from the video games.
I need to stand up to sit down for sure.
I need to take a walk after this sitting. Which is why I'm stoked to find a good series again where I'm really excited to get back to it, because I'm like, oh, that's right. Like this is a way of meditating but cheating at the same time. You know what I mean? Not like a guilty way, a guiltless free of slowing down.
See, I tend to think of books as tree hostages.
Tree. That's funny.
Because we took some information and we took a tree for hostage and we put the information in it and then we protect it and keep it friendly.
We do.
So it's also a pretty big giveaway when you find somebody in your life that has a bunch of books and they never read.
Wait, say that again?
When you find somebody in your life that has a bunch of books and they never read.
I was that guy for a couple years.
Were you building your library?
So I got a bunch of books because I was reading them all, and then I started getting books before I was finishing other books. Really 3 years later, I had like 5-6 books that I hadn't even gotten to yet. But I like to say that I had all these books because I was reading all these books. But really, I was just like, I just wasn't reading. I just wasn't making the time to slow the fuck down and read. And that was right up until now, really.
Okay. Now, are you having any way that you review books that you've finished? Are you doing like a Goodreads where you review the book itself and write a little ditty or putting like how many stars the text was or anything like that?
No.
Could you?
Like on websites or like my own personal thing?
Do you think it might be useful just to have a notepad or something like a document on your computer that's got the book that you read and then a sentence or two of how you felt about it? So that you can kind of clear the cache of your brain. So that you can be like, how did I feel about the Chronicles of Narnia? Oh yeah, the chair was dope, but the rest were weird. Like
they were, man. Some of them I read them all because I was down for the cause, but some of them were kind of strange, man. Some were kind. Anywho, no, I haven't done that. I've done them on the YouTube channel where I'll talk about them, but it's not an official container for books I've read, how they made me feel.
For sure. Well, Goodreads, the link inside the Zoom chat, is a really great platform for that. And it's already connected to the metadata for all the actually, I'll put this link over there too as well.
Yeah.
All the metadata for authors and all the metadata as far as the books that you've read so that you can see your friend's bookshelf and you can kind of recommend different texts.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that sounds like their nerdiest yet sweetest website.
Yes, extremely sweet nerds. This is true.
Like the sweetest nerds that just read books and knit things for their homies.
I don't know, man. I was always concerned about knitting because it's sharp. I tend to hang out with crocheting people just because the hook bits. So this is a link that I'm dropping from the Goodreads website for a book called Hot Lead, Cold Iron. and it's a text by an author named Ari Marmel that's writing in the 20s about a private investigator named Mick Oberon who's dealing with like the mafia and then the mafia of the Never Never, which is called, instead of the outfit, they're called the unfit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
This is a
pretty good
book?
text. It's a four of them so far. So yes, it's a book into series, and it's
Oh,
in the vein of Harry Dresden and Atticus and a couple others. So I'm trying to slowly connect them, but I think there's a difference when you read the book versus the audiobook. Because if you were to go through the Iron Druid Chronicles, an audiobook,
mm-hmm.
every time the dog talks, he's talking like a dog. He's just a dog voice. It's kind of silly.
I know. I think that's me again. I haven't. I the voice I have for Oberon. Oberon is the dog's name. In my head, is sometimes sometimes by habit I'll put a dog's accent on him, but it won't feel right, and I'll change it to like a very sophisticated but like old world human. That's proper because the dog's proper as hell, man. He's like
Boy.
well mannered and like caring and considerate. You know what I mean? He's just a dog, so it's.
Mm-hmm.
I know listening to audiobooks, and that would totally fuck me up if he was talking like a dog the whole time. You kidding me? Like that would be,
For
yeah.
sure. So that was one of the notes that, like I mentioned, my younger brother turned me on to the book series. And we got a chance to talk about the audiobook versus the written book and how the audiobook voicing was kind of dramatic, whereas the written book makes it a much higher quality experience.
Was it? Did you listen to the audiobook?
I did. I listened to the first one and I was like, I can't do this.
Okay.
So for sure, for sure.
Listen to audiobooks, even if you're not like, even if you're super interested, it's hard to like just sit still and stare at a wall and be like, oh, I'm listening to an audiobook. You know?
Yeah, I know a lot of people who do activities like mow the lawn or do the dishes or work around the house when they're on audiobooks.
For
And to
sure.
me, there's a difference between an audiobook and an audio drama. Because audio drama has different voice actors and it'll have diegetic and non-diegetic sound effects. Meaning like the phone rings, ring, ring, rather
Yeah.
than the phone rings, and they just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
So that was a big debate for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Uh-huh.
Because some of those early ones were like audio, descriptive audio, talking about all Zaphoid Beetlebrox and his two heads. And
Uh-huh.
it got kind of crazy. I got the BBC's original broadcast. There was a vinyl rip that made it online a couple years back that I was able to scoop. So have to
Nice.
get some files your way. Yeah, for sure. If you're into that kind of gear,
cool.
no worries. For sure.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you doing very much writing yourself?
That's funny. I was just about to say that this book's been inspiring me to write again. I've been keeping stock of themes and like I've been keeping stock of my favorite parts of the book as I'm like, oh, that was unique and fresh, and I really like how that was done. So I write that down. Like, why did I like that so much? So I've been taking note because I've been wanting to write my own fiction for a long time, for years now. But it's like I don't want to sit down. I don't want to like sit down.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I don't want to hear about what you don't want to do. Tell me what you do want to do, please.
I want to, like I'm doing now, stumble across something that I'm like, fuck yeah, that, and I'm just overwhelmed with it, and I have to do it. And there's been that happens on occasion where I'm like, oh, where it feels physically good to think about that thing and then how that thing unfolds, and that's where I'm like, I'm doing that. But right now with writing the book, it's there's no I can't sink my teeth into any way, and I can't just sit there for a while and like, try to come up with it. I guess I could, but it's not. I don't know. It takes too much time to do it that way. So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that strike, and like I said, it's been happening. That's why I've been writing it down. I'm like, all right, this is good. Keep like write this down because you're gonna pull the trigger soon, and you want to have stuff written down to take the direction. And so yeah, that's it. That's what I do want to do.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it. I'm thinking it's a good direction. You want to see if we can try to coordinate and get other individuals involved again for the next one of these? See if we can make it a multiplayer thing as well? Trying to look at what other topics we got. And I know if we don't keep the cap on it, it's going to be like 5 hours long. So
yeah, I just have to drive to the airport, but oh, it's only 8:30. I thought it was later. I thought it was 9:30. It's only 8:30 right now? Cool. So you want someone to come on the live? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just seeing who's connected to what and how all that direction's going. Also getting a feel for the timing, seeing where you're thinking. So no worries.
My timing's good. I'm not even concerned about time for another half hour. I'm not concerned about time until this time.
Very good. So I'd say we got. Sounds like we got about a half hour-ish left.
A
Let me
half
take
hour
a
before I like want to check in. If we're vibing, we're fucking vibing. You know.
word for sure. Well, I think I'm gonna grab different drink, refresh water, and adjust a few things. Cool. If we take an intermission for a minute.
Absolutamente.
Way sweet.
I'll
Excellent.
check in with the chat room while you do that.
Bless, bless.
Libra gang, what up, Ed? Garcon, that's funny. We're talking about Garcon. No, Gaston. You seem like a new name, Garcon, and cringy things. Everyone say what up. Give him a warm welcome. Introduce him. Oh no. Wrong YouTube channel. We'll just pick everyone say hello to Sochi. She's been here for a while, but someone needs to fill the space of that huge introduction that I was about to give. So Sochi, you are it. I hope you're not don't have stage sinus. Thanks for the links, Agent Smith. How you guys doing? You enjoying the talk? Happy to get Richie Zxy back on the channel and do all the perusing. Galactic, what up? Nice to see you guys chatting and staying frisky in the old chat room. You guys talking YouTube goals? What up? What up? Yeah, you guys want some YouTube stuff? Hit me up. Some YouTube tips on anything. Happy to help. Tony Toussaint. Richie doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he does have some online paraphernalia that he could share with you. And I will wait for him to get back to do it because I don't know it. Sit tight just a second. We'll get all his paraphernalia over unless Sir Agent Smith has already beaten me to it, which is a possibility. Sitting reading an actual book is awesome. So Sarah for real. We're about to learn Sarah for real today. Let me use you as my guinea pig, Sarah. She says sitting reading an actual book is awesome, but it's a luxury for me at this time of life. I saw a Buddhist quote that said, every person should meditate for 20 minutes a day. And if they do not have time, then they should meditate for 60. And the whole point was, well, not the whole point, but at least part of the point was, if you're the type of person who doesn't ever have any time, that it's your fault, and and you need to learn how to make time, because that's your biggest issue. If you don't, it's saying if you don't have 20 minutes to spare in your day, then you're doing something wrong, and you gotta put the pedal to the metal. At least if reading is something you want to be doing. If reading's really not that, if you're stoked on audiobooks and you don't have to read, then by all means keep them audiobooks. But if it's something that you miss doing and that you love doing, holy shit, I recommend you do it. Because if I can have a child, 2 jobs, an Etsy shop, a YouTube channel, and still find time to read during the day, I promise you guys have time itself.
Do you make time to read during the day, or do you have time to read during the day? Because it sounds like you're intentionally making time to read.
I'm doing both, just because I like the book that much. That's what I mean. That's how much I'm enjoying it. Is if I've got time, I'm reading, and if sometimes I'm like, I finish this real quick so I can like read that next chapter, because that part was really cool, you know? But yeah, reading's hard. If you don't, if you have a lot going on, it is hard to dedicate time to a book, especially if it's for pleasure and it's not like making you money or giving you skills or some shit like that. So I would argue reading is keeping my sanity, because it's allowing a very healthy dip into another reality that's hard, that you don't really come. As a kid, we do that. Also, one of the best parts of being a kid, you know, is your ability to just dip into any world that's going on in your head and to feel it as if it was this one. That's what fiction books do for me. And If you got to make time, then fucking make time for that.
What do you think it was like when individuals were illiterate?
Dude, when people were illiterate, the world was their storybook. They were probably being like hunted by things. I would imagine anyone who can't read is living in a pretty hectic lifestyle where they've got enough reality slapping them in their face to where they don't need a novel to escape from. Like whether they're being ground into the ground because they were like lived in a slummy part of the city that had no access to anything, or you're living out in the woods and you never learn how to read and you got to like hunt mountain lions and shit like that. So like, I feel like people who live in our society where it's like you have to, where you reading a book is like, then like it's kind of soft. You know what I mean? It's kind of a where that if that's your problem, like I can't read a book right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty soft society, in my opinion. You know?
For sure. Especially if there's a angle of difficulty for individuals who don't have literacy, and there are tons of people who are fully literate and act as though they're illiterate.
Damn, that's another level, even further along those lines. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. It's a strange world time right now. They say it's a crazy time to live, but that's a good example of it. I mean, we have helicopters landing on native tribes in the Amazon who are like have never seen a road before. I'm like, what the fuck is this steel monster doing? Like, or steel? They don't know what steel is. They're like, this rock. There's this flying rock that they hollowed out, and it's flying through the sky. So yeah, it's the contrast of our problems.
Right. So I'm going to take a couple hinges real quick and stitch in some fun ideas.
Hinges.
There's a tabletop like Stonehenge all the time. Tabletop role playing game like called Shadowrun. It's like Dungeons and Dragons. So D&D has a D20 base, usually 20-sided dice. And there's a 10-sided dice, 12-sided dice, and you use those to handle your numbers. It's for your statistics. We already talked about numbers before. I won't go into that directly. Shadowrun is D6 based, so it's all cubes. It's all crosses again. It's all that kind of perspective. But in the Shadowrun universe, and it's also a fictional book series, we're in the future where there's wizards and elves and trolls and orcs and magic and cyber arms and drones and holograms and the Matrix and self-driving cars and solar power. So all of these things come together. There's a thing called the Awakening. And the Awakening was when all the Native American magic suddenly became visible and real. And there was a thing called the Goblinization, when all of a sudden people just sprouted tusks and became orcs. Or just sharpened their ears and all of a sudden expressed elfish kind of traits and qualities and actually had genetic mutations that the world indicates for this in the Shadowrun universe. It's a very fun little place.
What is this? A game?
Shadowrun is a tabletop role-playing game, and it's a very deeply written in world. So we're talking like sci-fi from the early 80s running forward. But I'm neck deep in this and a lot of other fictional worlds, which gives me, Agent Smith knows Shadowrun. That's freaking dope. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Right. So being connected to that mythos, most recently, this connects with the idea of resonance and technomancers. So resonance would be when things are in harmony and harmonious and going well. And then dissonance would be when things are bad. So if your network is in resonance, you have all your network devices plugged in and their IP addresses are in the correct range and they're getting packets in the right pattern. And there's not like a microwave in the middle of your Wi-Fi signal or something like that. And then dissonance would be when somebody like unplugs your router and plugs in their blender and forgets to plug it back in. Or when somebody like hot wires their car off your car and then leaves the pieces and it goes and then it kills your car, even though their car works. So with resonance and dissonance, the idea could expand into technomancers. And that would be somebody who uses their magic through the internet. And that could be like casting a circle through a web call per se. Or it could be like embedding a sigil inside of a meme. So everybody who sees that meme is empowering your sigil.
Yes, I'm trying to get on that level. This morning I was sitting down. Alchemy of Life left a comment on my video, but literally said the same thing as you just did, only on a T-shirt.
Nice.
I was thinking, I need to draw one out. I need to draw one out and find someone on Fiverr to just make me the filthiest animated drop of my own personal sigil for something that I'm trying to get. It's been coming up a lot lately, man. And it just now too. Again, I was like, oh shit, it came up again. You showed one of them that you could show last time, I think, right? Did you?
Yeah, I've got a big spread. I've got one tattooed on my chest, and it's not really good to show in this kind of format. It kind of like negates the fact that it's in a personal space. You know what I mean? It's like, I've got a tattoo on my butt. You want to see it? Like,
Yeah, well, that's the one you got to show off. Like it was a statement on your ass. I feel
fair, for sure. I'd probably be like, nah. I don't even need to think about what I would get if I was going to get a butt tattoo. We can just we'll leave that one where it is. I think it's really strange though, because sometimes you can interact with somebody, and that can tattoo your soul.
Wait, say that last one again. Smith dropped a bomb on me, and then you dropped the bomb on me second, but his bomb took precedence over yours. So what was yours?
His was an awesome bomb, though.
It was. Did you see that?
Facts, for sure, for sure.
I was like, well played. Well played.
I was just saying that sometimes the presence of another person can put a tattoo on your soul.
Really? A tattoo? Well, I mean, tattoos are removable, but so yeah, I guess that makes sense. These are really hard to take off. All right, it's okay. Before it slips away, we were talking about resonance earlier, but you talked about something sticking to you.
Yeah.
Resonance means disharmony. So usually things of disharmony disband, right? They kind of dissolve.
Wait. Slow down. Definition. Resonance means in harmony. Dissonance means out of harmony.
What'd I say?
You said resonance means out of harmony.
My bad.
You're good. No worries.
Okay. I was trying to get to before it slipped out of my mind. But what you just said,
yeah,
you're talking about something sticking to someone.
Sure.
So if disharmony happens, that should dissolve something, right? That should, the two things sort of meet in the middle, and it kind of like become this weird place. So when you say something sticks on you energetically, that tells me that that thing has to stay whole. There's no losing its origin. Where disharmony, you do lose some of the origin because you have a blend of the two things. So how is that happening where something is sticking to you and not sort of sloughing off?
I would say that the dissonance properties have to do with division, and resonance would have to do with unification. So if you interact with somebody and they're good and kind to you, even if you don't know their name, even if you never see them again, they're going to encourage you to have parts of your heart be reconnected, healed, and whole. Now, if you interact with somebody who drops a bomb of dissonance on your world, and they like cut you off in traffic or cut you in line or yelled at you or took or broke or ruined something of yours, you're going to be forced to divide your reality and to separate pieces and parts until you can figure out a context that says that this happened, but you aren't to blame.
Run that again. Give that one more time.
You have to give the power to the person who you are. So good people are going to unify you, and bad people experientially are supposed to separate you.
Oh, I see.
But even if somebody hurts your feelings or does something bad to you and you're in a place of love, that can be a unifying force. Even if they're trying to drive a bigger wedge and say only this color lives matter, only that color lives matter. No. You missed the plot. All the lives matter from the beginning. We know this, and there are specific groups that have been treated poorly, and that's what we're talking about.
Fair. I was like, yes, fair. Fair. Well, both sides met and acknowledged well, concisely, and fairly. Yeah.
In my mind, that's what we need more of, is the training ground for individuals to develop this kind of dialogue.
And that the key word is develop, though. There are stages from where people are asleep and like are able to articulate themselves in a way that's like open and not judgmental. And
right, for sure. And there'd be the developmental factors of saying, cool, well, you can develop for focus, but can you develop for contrast?
Damn.
I'm just saying, like, this, in my mind, this is the dojo for the Matrix dojo. Like, this is where we're training with Morpheus. This is where we're getting the opportunity to have all this stuff every single day. You go to work. Are you the boss, or is the boss the boss?
This is ZXY is what this is.
I do my best to keep it consistent.
That was as consistent as you could have been, actually, if I may say. No, that's such a cool thing, man. I had that thought that brought up there. I had earlier in the conversation was like, there's so many different ways of usefully seeing things like construct. You know, there's like, oh, there's so a million different perceptions. It's like, yeah, but there's also really shitty perceptions. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, but like that's like, well, there's also there's like, but there is, you know, a top shelf. There's a grade A. You know what I mean? There's a some kind of way where you can see things where it's like, oh, that's extremely useful that I've been lacking, and like that I can make sense of and actually apply to my life, like tomorrow, like right now. You know, it's already hit me. In other words, you know.
For sure. These are some choice cuts of empathy right here.
Yeah, choice cuts. Yes.
It's a strange thing, I think, to be in this pioneering time. Because the ideas that are being shared right now, what is it? Like 500 hours of YouTube are uploaded every minute?
I think I just heard that number too. That's funny. Keep bringing up shit that I've heard of. Yeah, I think you maybe did you on Joe Rogan? Did you watch Joe Rogan recently? And maybe that's what I'm hearing. But yeah, no, I just heard that 500 hours. I was like, what? Like, where the fuck is all this shit being stored? That's an insane.
Wait, and so YouTube has storage problems, but Netflix is fine?
What? Dude, no. I had a crazy thought because of that 500 hours. That's why it stuck out. I was thinking. It's like, not only do they have AI and they're running that shit, there's got to be so much stuff that they're not talking about where they're like, we created a whole brand new universe that's empty of life so we can store information inside of it now. Like 500 hours a day
For sure.
of like 5K, 4K, like all the stupidly huge files. You know?
For sure. And then it dives in even deeper to think what that data is being used for.
Oh,
because you can guarantee that all the videos are being watched by people, sure, but then there's tons of spiders that are scrubbing for facial recognition technology. And there's a bunch of spiders that are listening for the words and generating captions or quantifying things. Like, I know if I had an afternoon in the initiative, we could deepfake some of your videos and make you and I say shit we never said.
Damn, fair.
So in that kind of perspective, I think it has to do with that continuity buffer. That how real are you? Are you real enough that every single time you upload a video, Keith, I'm stoked because it's like, cool, Keith got to upgrade. He's now the next version of Keith. And then you like, it's the next. They like keep evolving. You're like beyond Bulbasaur by now. It's awesome.
Bulbasaurizide Ranger.
Venusaurian Stadur.
S4.
Dang.
Times 4.
For sure, for sure. And yep, Agent Smith did that work again. As of May 2019, more than 500 hours of video were uploaded to YouTube every minute.
Dude, that's crazy.
And it's the dilution of information. Nobody ever really thought, walking into a library, there are more books here than I could ever read. Maybe I should respect the building. They were just like, bookstore, free. You know what I mean? So the same thing goes when you meet somebody. If you meet someone, maybe they actually got education you didn't, and maybe their way of speaking is different than yours. But if we're just insisting that people do the bare minimum, like sobriety is the minimal right now. You notice that?
What do you mean?
Well, wherever you go in society, the bare minimum is that you figure that people are going to be mostly sober.
That's kind of sad.
Is it wrong though?
No.
Okay, well, I'm not disagreeing with it. It's just.
Is he dressed? So, all right, great.
Pretty much. You get most of the clothes. If you're missing a shoe or two, some places won't serve you. You know what I mean?
Fair. Fair, no shoes, no shirt. I've seen those ones.
Now, I wonder how many people are showing up to their inner temple and they keep their shoes on.
Yeah.
They're stomping around their inner temple and they never take off their outside coat. They never take off their gloves. So they're handling like that hollow tabernacle with, you know, like plate mail gloves on because that's what they have to wear in the world. And it's like, wait a minute.
Oh, man. Yeah. Again, it's hard when you don't know you're wearing those gloves. Is where the hard part is. Which is cool. Because you've brought this up a bunch of times, and we've only talked a couple of times on having conversations like this to sort of bring up things that don't get brought up before, and it's like, oh, that was so simple, but it's just not something you'd ever come across. Like, oh, your body's your own temple. Take off the gloves, man. Like, you can chill. You can take your shoes off, man. Fucking chill out a little bit.
stay a while.
Hey, take your shoes off, stay a while. Fuck, it's some ton of room, man. Pour a glass, like whatever it is, some tea. What the fuck?
You got any favorite teas, by the way?
I've been drinking a lot of this. Would this be considered a tea? Black seed? Like pouring, well, chamomile or whatever tea's lying around with black seed oil.
Okay, so black seed oil, you can get just the oil.
For sure. I poured just the oil. I have the some top grade oil.
You
And
drinking it?
No, I just put it in tea. That's what I'm saying. I'll
Straight to the dome. Take it.
really.
Yeah, like a honey. Take it yourself. It's gonna hit your body way better. The dilution in the tea may cause absorption issues.
Oh shit. Fair enough.
So don't push more than like a tablespoon at a time because you could get some lower intestine cleansing early on.
All right.
Just letting you know.
Fair. Or take a whole bunch the first time if you have a full day ahead of you, open day, so you can get it out of the way in the beginning. Is that fine?
I would just say go slow. It's essentially black seed oil is going to work as a toothbrush or a street sweeper for your endocrine system.
Really?
Yeah, bruh.
Nice.
Does a lot of good things. And actually, if you can mix black seed oil and a little bit of castor oil, that's going to take the street sweeper into your large intestine.
Just because of the castor oil? Is the castor oil, what's that doing?
So there are three. This is going to get really graphic and gnarly very briefly. Not too bad, but I'm just going to say some icky things. So I'm just getting it out of the way. Disclaimer, done. Three kind of plaques, right? We got most commonly known dental plaque. Not too hard. They take the thing and they go, and it's gone. Dental plaque. Leave too long, get a cavity. Not so good, right? Mucoid plaque. Mucoid plaque is in the track of your nose and into your throat and down into your esophagus. So have you ever like maybe puffing on a pipe or something or going through a smoky area and like coughing up a chunk of lung butter that's like blackish? That's a piece of mucoid plaque that can come through. It can become plaque there. There's also what's called fecal plaque. You can get plaque inside your large intestines. So it's the same kind of plaque as your teeth and same kind of plaque that's in your mucus pathway. So black seed oil can help soften the creases of your large intestine to open up and to let the mucoid plaque pass through.
So would it be good to double up on some like fiber supplements and
Psyllium husk.
husk?
Take if you can get psyllium husk, you can get a whole bunch of it and then either blend that in your smoothies. Consume quickly because it'll become like a pudding-ish. But psyllium husk is like super organic, very recommended fiber for whole body cleansing.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a thing called a spirit tech where you can be like a technician of the spirit, and you can look at the whole body system as like a machine, and to say if you clear these points, you'll guaranteed to have spiritual experiences.
Dope. What? That's a profession?
Not really a profession per se. It's one of those random things people made on the internet. So yeah, I'm arguably connected. I arguably have an affiliate store with some places that vend that kind of stuff. So if anybody's interested, let me know.
I'm super interested. I'm super interested.
For sure. Well, you're already on the gold and silver. A lot of it has to do with the minerals. And so right now it's going to be a lot of you tracking what kind of diet you have. You don't got to write every single meal in a book, but you want to have the piece of paper where you write stuff down. Maybe that same piece of paper you write book ideas down. Just write what you ate. I ate a sandwich, I ate a smoothie, and I had a bowl of soup. Doesn't matter. Just write that down. And after you've got 2 or 3 weeks of that, you're going to be able to look backwards and to say, this meal made me feel that way. This meal made me feel that way. But until you start your grimoire and until you have some progress to note, you're just going to randomly cast spells until whatever you want happen.
Yeah, I've heard about that for years, but I've always been the type where I'm like, I assume eating pizza is gonna make me feel like shit, and eating like a healthy salad is gonna make me feel relatively good. So I haven't really cared too much to go past that. I'm like, oh fuck, I definitely know I probably shouldn't eat that, but that's also me just being lazy. I know that it's probably best if I actually pay attention each time.
I'm sure that the food that you're eating, as long as you're eating it with the right state and the right intention, isn't as harmful as it could be.
Dude, check this out. On that note, I meant to ask you, I was like, when I talked to him the next time before we made plans, I was like, I'm going to ask him this. What do you feel about, because I was eating pizza earlier, and I was like, I fucking wish I could just eat pizza and be on that level where it doesn't affect me physically because I'm so mind-bending reality that I can eat whatever the fuck I want and like live to eternity. I'm gonna ask Richie what he thinks about that. Like, what do you think? Because I know that's a Bashar type of concept that comes up. Like,
Word, for sure. Do you identify with the vessel, or Keith, do you identify with the spirit?
I well, I won't obviously want to say I identify with, maybe not obviously, but both. I know spirit comes first, but I don't always, like, I don't know if I feel that every moment of every day. Like when I'm in autopilot, I don't know if I respond that way, if my actions,
Okay.
back that up, if that makes
The
sense.
more journaling and the more meditation and self-reflection you do, the clearer you'll be able to speak with confidence in that regard. I
Uh-huh.
would say, in the instance that you identify with your egoic self and you believe that you are your body, it's going to be a very tall order for you to be able to eat something and to not experience its effects on your body.
Uh-huh.
However, if you identify strictly with consciousness and you believe that you are the mist-like vapors of being that pass through your vessel,
Uh-huh.
then you would have then the potentiality to consume something and not notice it, just like Tibetan monks would take high doses of LSD and show absolutely no results because they were not connected to the physical monkey. So when the body was going through this experience, their spirit was totally unaffected. Does that make sense?
And so they were sort of able to step back and perceive primarily through the spirit instead of
Right.
locking into the body's eyes and experiences.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you want, and this is oversimplification, you basically want to be able to eat pizza without getting indigestion.
More or less, exactly.
Okay. And what I'm saying is that if you identify with the creature, that's hard because indigestion is going to happen for the creature. If you
Fair.
identify as the spirit and the spirit tells the creature to eat the pizza, the spirit can choose to be manifest elsewhere when the creature has the indigestion, and the spirit can believe that the indigestion is related to the creature's action of the pizza eating rather than the spirit's command of the fulfillment action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then you have to come back to the body at some point, and
Do
then
you? Or does that body change and become an entirely different body when you return to it? Aren't you a new you than you were 6 seconds ago? I mean, given you're still made of mostly the same stuff, but now we're playing quantum games here, brethren.
I was about to say that sounds semantics more or less, but nah, I see your angle at the same time.
That would be indicating that your definitions say that the body is static, and my indications say that the body is dynamic. Because when you go to sleep, I think you wake up as a different person.
Hmm. So, but would that influence 10 years from now? You're if
Is
you're
it
able,
habitual? Is it habitually based where you're eating pizza consistently
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to live for the next 10,000 years
and
and eat
eat
whatever
pizza?
the fuck I want and eat pizza or
Yeah,
eat fucking
whatever you want,
chili
for sure.
crab or eat.
Are you okay with that spirit sometimes being very uncomfortable because the vessel is malfunctioning, because the vessel isn't eating the optimum diet for the vessel? Because you can have a rose bush and you can give it orange juice as fertilizer. Totally, you can. And if that's what the rose bush tells you it wants for fertilizer is orange juice, you can do it. But I don't know if that's the recipe to get the best orange rose blossoms. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And maybe that you want to find a rose bush that naturally already is orange and then follow the nutrient pattern for that rose bush organically. More
Uh-huh.
importantly, behind your question would be what family recipes could you learn that would tickle your neurons the same that pizza does?
Mm. E That would help the cause, but there's multiple factors than just like
Go on then.
this taste. Like I want something now that tastes like pizza, so I'm
For
gonna.
sure. And you want
That's
to
so
get
good.
you want to get a New Earth and 2 day shipping and not have to pay Prime. I know.
Yeah. Yes, I'm down to pay Prime, but just knowing that the 2 day shipping can come if I
So
gotta pay for it.
in this example, Prime might be that your life would be the cost for everybody else to have it.
My life would be the cost.
For everybody else to have access to that Prime benefit.
My
Are you
actual life.
Yeah, are you willing to martyr for that?
That's funny. I believe that that's. I don't believe that, but I'm sometimes leaning towards that. That's what it takes. When it all comes down to it, is this fear of death that we all have, and it's like, well, are you willing to die for it?
And it's the scale, because if you adjust your scale, you're going to see that you're already ready to die for it. Keith, you could be doing any number of things right now instead of being on this live chat.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a martyr to those things for this experience.
Oh yeah, fair. Yeah.
But so that already means that you're deciding in your time, in your natural rhythm, which is a little faster than you'd prefer, it sounds like,
Uh-huh.
to invest in the things that you want and then see what grows. Rather than kind of guess at the things that you want and hope that they happen, because
Uh-huh.
that's different. A lot of people who say, I want to be a this, so I don't go to work. I want to be this, so I don't get a job. I want to be this. And that's different than I want to be this, and so I'm going to work. I want to do this, and so I'm creating that traction and that friction.
Uh-huh.
What do you think a conversation would be like between someone's spirit and their body?
Um, that's cool. I'm not sure. I never thought about that before. Combo between their spirit and their body. You're giving them both their own autonomous thoughts and feelings? Because doesn't the spirit just possess the body?
But doesn't the body have a dialogue that the spirit responds to? And that dialogue that the spirit responds to is when you're like, I want to do this. And then your brain says, wait, I want to do that.
I guess in that, with that, the dialogue would sound like the body is like raw, pure emotion, wants, needs, and then the spirit would be more of a refined wants and needs.
Okay, for sure. In my mind, it'd be that the body is, I'm receiving signal. And the spirit is, I'm sending signal.
But more than that, it could be accepting signal, but it's just like the body would say, hungry, need fucking food, pizza, and the spirit would be like, yes, need food. However, pizza's probably not the best choice. Maybe
Right. Suffice hunger. Right, for sure. Suffice nutrients. Repair low HP.
Yeah. Yes. Health potion, not poison potion. Pick the one on the right, not on the left. That would be the spirit, sort of.
For sure. Isn't it weird that the health potion's always red?
I guess I assumed it was blood. I'm drinking blood to get past. That's why I figured it was probably my Catholic.
You a vampire, sir?
or a Catholic.
Dang. Well, you know those cat lickers. What are you gonna do? So.
Oh damn, savage.
I'm just saying, man. Confirmed. Been there.
Too close, too soon. Still going. They're still doing it, man. They're still drinking blood.
And even weirder, we have Kool-Aid, which is also red.
Kool-Aid's all kinds of colors, though. But I guess it's accepted as being red. Fair.
The Kool-Aid man.
The mascot is red. The mascot's red. It's true. It's the red one. No, fair. I forgot.
Oh yeah.
He sounded like the wrestler too. Oh yeah. With the blonde mustache. Hulk.
Hulk Hogan.
But anything,
brother.
Yeah, so Invis asked a good question. Isn't eating pizza more of the body's desires? But that was getting back to my point. Was this idea of I was getting back to the mind is all. So if the mind is strong enough, couldn't we fucking eat pizza, enjoy the taste, and divert the sacrifice elsewhere? If not on the body, then fucking on a rag doll or something. You know what I mean? Or to Mama Ocean, who's got like a boundless pit and can transmute anything, and like just stand in the ocean and sort of divert the energy that way. And that way, you know what I mean? I can divulge and.
For sure. I think there's a level of zoom out that you could go far enough if you wanted to. Because you could say that you're going to have pizza consistently, and that's going to make you like a priest or a deacon of the pizza cult. And so since you're connected, by the way, shout out to Pizza Cult fashion label run by my friend Graz, Rock the 56K. Pizza Cult fashion. It's a real thing. Awesome, like kawaii style graphics.
Anyway, oh, really?
Facts. Absolutely.
For pizza, that's fine.
In order for that to work, you'd have to look at the supply chain of where the pizza comes from, because then you have to have some connection to the cows who are making the milk. You're gonna have to have some connection to the wheat that grows to make the crust. You're gonna have to have some connection to the tomatoes that are used to make the sauce. If all of these are cloned in a laboratory and they're all put into a big box pizza place and you're just buying it and it's there, that's totally different than like a handmade artisanal pizza from a nearby place that sources local ingredients. In saying eating pizza every day, you didn't distinguish whether it's clean or dirty pizza in that way. And there's not empirically clean or dirty on that scale, unless you're zooming in close, saying dirty equals factory farm, lack of health codes, lack of regulation.
Yeah, you're talking
for sure. And the cleanliness will. So being able to define what you want from that experience to eat pizza every single day would be how you'd accomplish it. But with your presently defined terms, it doesn't sound as though that's going to be something that's going to help your body get to a better place.
No, that makes perfect sense.
But who knows? Maybe you're the next pizza baron of California, man. Like,
Yeah, no, because I'm already, the question is already framed in pizza is bad. How do I fix?
Right. And I get that a lot specifically with tobacco
Uh-huh.
because I've had some experiences with tobacco myself and was addicted for a long time and found a way to discuss with the spirit of tobacco and to rearrange that agreement.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Tobacco isn't empirically bad. It's extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing as saying that a Sharpie marker isn't bad to like a 3-year-old. Sharpie marker is not bad, but it's really powerful given that kind of reality. You know what I mean?
Permanent marker. Just like, oh.
And I guess that even scales even further as some people grow older, they replace the permanent marker with like a tattoo machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some things that are semi-permanent or more permanent than maybe they could have been.
Yeah, that's Kenny Mikowski just said that I think the body knows it's not the best either, and that was she basically touched on what we're talking about and making the distinction of. Because in my head, I was going, well, yeah, the body can think all the fuck it wants, but it's like at the bottom of the totem pole, as far as I'm concerned. The spirit should
Right.
be able to.
For sure. And there's an easy way to quantify this. You got 3 brains.
Mm-hmm.
The mental brain, this brain connects to spirit,
Mm-hmm.
but this one stands on the heart brain.
Mm-hmm.
And the heart brain connects to the other heart brains to make sure that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this one stands on the belly brain.
Mm-hmm.
And the belly brain can't hear anybody else. So if you give the belly brain bad food, putrid food, diseased food, these other 2 brains are fundamentally worthless.
Mm-hmm.
So on some level, you have to attend to the first brain, which is your belly or your gut, and make sure that those are stable. Your organs and your digestive tissue can get you the correct amount of pressure and blood to your heart so that your brain can make informed decisions and you can actually be following the true intuition rather than my gut's telling me I got to go to the bar. Like, what the hell kind of intuition is that? Like, maybe so many cool adventures start in a tavern, but
yeah, a lot of good stories could start off that way. But I've been playing devil's advocate with these questions because I'm there with you, but a lot of the
That's cool.
rhetoric is saying, this mind is all. You should be able to minute. But as above, so below, as below, so above is always the second half of the phrase. And I was trying to get an explanation of how you could give a good argument for physical
yeah, change the body,
having
change the
to
mind.
be physical and not like only being sole responsibility of the spiritual. I mean, that's a good way of putting it. Is what I'm getting at, basically. To counter that argument of all is mind and it has the ultimate say. It's like, well, then what the fuck's just going on with this corresponding? Everything seems to be corresponding to everything else. You can't just ditch the physical world like that.
I mean, arguably, you could ditch the illusion of the physical world, and then your illusion of the mental world would become equally elusive. Because if somebody bails on the rail and says, I don't have to go to work, I don't have to pay my bills, then the reality says that they have a house is gone because they didn't follow through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's home, I guess. It's closer to reality, but it's still substantial is where I'm getting at. So I guess the loophole would be what you brought up earlier in what's your relationship to that, or was that what you were saying? What's your perspective on what's the pizza achieving for you in that moment? Is that what you were getting at?
Yes, and even it could be simplified to what is your relationship to that pizza?
Uh-huh.
Is that the pizza that's going to make everything better? Or is that just the pizza you're having right now? Or is that the best pizza? Or is that like, here's a free pizza? You know what I mean?
No,
or is it like, whoa, it's a free pizza? Like, those are all different connection types. So I'd say that it has a lot to do with your expectations. To me, if you're happy remembering your food, you're doing it right. So if you remember what you ate for lunch or what you ate for breakfast and it makes you smile, good job. But if you think about what you ate and you're not happy about it, could have some room for upgrades.
I like that. Yeah. I'm picturing the foods I eat in my mind, and it's even appears clearer. I'm like, when I made tacos, I was like, oh, I can remember them cooking on the stove, the shells as I waited. You know what I mean? It was
right.
Hear it sizzling in my ear.
Absolutely, and I would say that food is encouraging you to recall a form of lucidity, and that sacrament that you shared has to do with you installing your own intention. Rather than going somewhere and getting a number whatever with cheese and then
Uh-huh.
ordering, having somebody else make it who could be feeling any sort of ways,
Uh-huh.
and then you're not really aware of what you're eating. But since you can viscerally teleport back to that place, that makes you more suited to take this energy and move it forward to accomplish the things that you want, because you know that it's already have a beginning and this is the middle, so the end is coming. Rather than this taco is the beginning.
I hope someone write that down as a t-shirt idea. If anyone this taco is the beginning in all capital. That made me think of In and Out, and sometimes I'm like, is it fake that they're all that stoked to be there, or they're just on point with their hiring? And I came to the conclusion they've got to be that on point with their hiring, because I know people that work for In and Out, and they are that person. They are spunky as hell, chippery as fuck, like on it, proper. You know what I mean? And so I'm thinking, if maybe that's why we like In and Out so much, is because everyone that works there, just that's the energy they're putting into those. It's just like, California chipper, like palm tree on the thing. The employees are just like robotically almost infused with that prior to even working there.
Hmm.
Um,
So
that
one could even argue or have the thought idea that the sacred energy of the element of In and Out is attracting its devotees so
Mhm.
that it may obtain its presence in the burger dimension.
I hope that's what's happening. I hope there is something
Hmm.
formulating as an In and Out entity.
Well, I'd say it's already happening, otherwise we wouldn't have things animal style. But it would have a lot to do with the idea that the corporations are fifth dimensional beings.
You're suggesting that, or you're saying that, or
I believe it is a statement. And
uh-huh.
if you have any refuting, please let me know.
I don't necessarily have pro or against, but
Okay, well, I would say that a fifth dimensional consciousness would be something that's created from a bunch of fourth dimensional consciousness. So if you take a bunch of people and they start a corporation, congratulations, you've created a fifth dimensional consciousness.
I
That you
see.
can't take a corporation to court, really. You can kind of. You can't hold a corporation responsible for hurting somebody, really. I mean, you kind of. But on the same token, an NPO isn't something that you can kind of, throw a brick through the window and scare.
I see. Yeah.
So, as much as a nonprofit corporation is still a corp, there's an important backside to that. Technically, I'm a business. I'm a sole proprietorship of Rainbow Crystal. That's all me. But that's because I realize that I'm more than just a man. I'm the ideas that this little chia pet of a human is responsible for.
Uh-huh.
There are other individuals who have to work for a company. They have to work for Nike. They have to work for Reebok. They have to work for some other thing. And then their label of power and control is in the middle management or whoever over there that tells them who they are and what they're worth and what they can and can't do.
Damn. That's fuck, that's crazy. That's like,
Bless, bro, for sure.
I'm trying to think. You could do so much with that. If you were
If
if
we
you were
if
participant.
we're for sure, if we're doing this right, we're building bricks. And right now we've got a
Yeah.
couple bricks together. So later on, we should be able to look backwards through time and take these bricks and build some pretty awesome, I don't know, mesas or temples or lodges or something out of it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
For sure. Good things. I'm trying to keep it in brights and pieces. So I want to say any questions to the chat and then any words for your Colorado. Otherwise, I want to make sure we can wrap up so that I got something to move forward because I want to make sure that I can get this video back out to others as well.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start. We're wrapping it. We're officially wrapping it up, y'all. So with the questions, I'll peep through the comments. I am leaving to Colorado. Oh yeah, if any of you guys are in Colorado, hit me up. I'll be there till Saturday, and yeah, we'll be chilling. I'll have some nights baby free because we're leaving the baby. The grandparents, the two grandmas are going with us, so we'll have a few nights to just party hard in the town, and have some drinks and catch some Denver. I'm excited to just catch the vibe. I'm excited to sit down at their most poppin' brewery or something similar and people watch and like just see how it holds itself there. I'm stoked. I'm excited. If you guys are there. And questions for Richie for coming out again, and he will literally answer any question you guys have. It's
Whether or not I have the answer you're looking for is a total toss-up.
Is it? Yeah, whether or not it's useful for you, but it will in fact contain a lot of fucking information that'll be useful to someone. I can guarantee you that.
That's what I'm looking to do. So I'd say, if at all possible, Keith, when you're in Colorado land, make sure you visit at least a couple weed stores.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would like to go to like the first or the biggest or the most prestige, the most something weed store I would like to visit when I go.
I'm sure if you pick any one, they're going to be the most something.
Or the one furthermost east of this block.
Relative dimensions thing. So
Great.
last year I drove the 7 hours from where I am to Denver on my birthday.
Uh-huh.
And then on my birthday, when I rolled into Denver, I looked on the internet box to find whatever weed store would give me a free joint for my birthday. And I found one. So it was super awesome, but I've worked in cannabis industry in a couple different states. I'm familiar with it. And I think that it'd be really cool for you to kind of see how Colorado's doing it. Just because there's...
Honestly, I haven't even seen how California's done it much. I went into my first recreational weed shop like 2 or 3 months, no, like a month ago, probably. And it was my first time being in a and even the medical ones, I've probably only been in 2 or 3 medical ones just because I've been plugged into the black market for fucking God knows how long. Just doing everything terrifiedly, and now it's just like I can walk in. It's fine. I don't need to show you, like, I don't need to tell you my knee hurts or some shit like that. Because it does, I swear. As some of you know, my knee hurts, it hurts.
Wild days. There's a lot to be said for the medicines that are incoming. But a few questions pop up. You want to field those?
Yeah, the Aztec one seems super interesting. I have no idea what you're talking about, Sochi. Why is the Aztec energy hidden?
Dang. So what do you know about Aztechnology, Keith?
Aztec technology?
No, Aztec. Sure, Aztec technology. I just say Aztechnology. It's a lot easier to say.
Oh, like, did he say that out loud? I had an LSD moment. I was like, did he say that out loud? Did I say that out loud? Are we talking right now?
Yeah, it's like indigenous technology.
I do most of my Aztec research as far as Cortez and like their culture and that meeting of the Europeans. I don't know much of their spiritual tech. Like, I know they've got the calendar. I know they were into the sacrifices and shit, but nothing in particular. I know they have some crazy stories about red-haired giants and shit like that, and meeting up with the Indians from Southwest U.S. and doing trade and bartering, and they supposedly hid a whole bunch of their treasure in the Grand Canyon, and because they were homies with the Hopi when the Europeans landed, they were like, "Fuck, we gotta get," because they knew people were dying of smallpox and shit. When you say Aztec technology, that's why you say Aztec technology. It's like, that's fucking ridiculous word to say. Aztec technology. You talking about spiritual practices? Is because that's, other than that, I don't know shit about them. I know they have cool philosophies about the blondes being their saviors, which I found interesting. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, which is why they accepted Cortez in the first place. It was one of their gods.
Fair. A lot of the Aztechnology is based around solar worship.
They had okay, yeah. Oh, that's the Mayans who had the Mayan calendar, huh?
Aztec calendar is a thing too. Got the Legends of Forbidden Temple. Like there's a whole bunch of those things that are connected in the mythos. For sure. Had the Aztec face. They did the talking too. Talk about blood sacrifice in Aztechnology, right? Talking about a lot of sun stuff. Now, it could be that you're killing tons of things on a specific day, or it could be that you got this one special thing and you really don't want to, but you're supposed to kill it because that's what's supposed to happen. A lot of that language that I'm finding in my studies have to do with any kind of Aztec, Mayan, or even Spanish mythos is embedded in the language because English isn't gender-based, but Spanish is gender-based. So there is actually a feminine form of the number 1 and a masculine form of the number 1 in other languages. So we've now accessed capital numbers, which means that the decoding filters are going to be different, because instead of looking at the moon and deciding if people are crazy because it's a full moon or not, you're knowing that people are going to be reliable because it's the 3rd day of the sun cycle. So it's a linguistic and again semantics.
Yeah. That's interesting. The sun has a cycle too. What's the affects the sun cycle then? We can
28.
see the moon cycle, but we can't see the sun cycle.
Bullshit. You can. You just have to burn your eyeballs off or use a telescope. You saw that Invader Zim episode. Every 28 days, the sun moves. And there's actually, your skin will change every 28 days because the sun will cause different burns because the flares are inconsistent. So yeah, there's some people. There's some people deep into this stuff for sure. So the Four Agreements dude, Don Miguel Urias, his son is out teaching now. And so he's talking a lot about the Nawal and the Tapal, which is the you when you're asleep and the you when you're awake. Those are separate yous. But then some of us get locked because of trauma or something, and the sleeping us is driving the wakeful us. Or the awake us is making the sleep us have dreams. So there's a lot of other potential.
So how does that tie into the hidden Aztec then? That's why is Aztec energy hidden?
It's hidden behind the sun. We don't look at the sun and we don't acknowledge the sun as the bodhisattva. We don't see the solar energy of Ra as the thing that we should be respecting. At best, it's Yahweh. You know what I mean? The eye of Saruman kind of thing.
Damn, that's funny.
That's my take on it.
Is that how you're personifying Yahweh? Is that the sort of deity, what's the characteristic that you give him personally? Is that fucking eyeball?
I know Yod-Heh Vav-Heh has eyes because he's a warrior.
And
I know the last thing I want to do is get in the pupil of the eye of a warrior. That's for dang sure. So if there does have to be a warrior, I don't got so much problem as it being a dude in a lot of pain. Like, if you got to be a warrior, well, you might have to feel some pain about it. But if you want to be a king, you might also have to be a warrior.
You should. Some might argue you should be a warrior if you're going to be a king.
For sure. Well, that's getting at Excalibur and kingliness, and now we're going on the Merlin tip. So yeah, Aztec, check.
Wait. Aztec, sun, hidden, sun rotation. So to recap, who asked that question? I don't know, but whoever asked it, the sun. But I feel like the question was leaned towards it is being hidden.
Yes.
Fully. So do you think it's just as a sort of corresponding element? It's hidden behind the sun and it's easier to hide, or that's just the nature of the sun itself? It's so bright that it's sort of like you can't really look at it. Like what?
Both. It's easiest to hide things in plain sight, and the most powerful things will be hidden plainly.
Albeit by who or whatever measures that manifests.
Regardless. The technique, if you have something really big to hide, you have to hide it really simply. And if you are trying to find something, look where you would hide it.
Which is exactly what we do when you're trying to look for hidden things. Like, where would I hide this?
Right. So the occult mysteries of why the Aztec technology secrets are hidden are probably because people are looking in books trying to find them and looking at old runes instead of looking up at you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that story of the Buddhist dude pointing at the moon, and then all the people are looking at his finger.
And yeah.
Look at the moon.
Does that it answered my question that I didn't even know I had a question for? So hopefully it answered your question, whoever postured. Candy Mikasi, that was good though. I'll answer Candy. I'll answer your question right now. But that's cool, man. And I never would have thought if I can look at the moon as phases and something you can plan accordingly to. Outside of seasons, obviously it's like it's hot. I'm gonna plant these crops. It's cold. I'm gonna plant. You know what I mean? Which is that's slow, dude. I'm not looking at it daily as like quick rotations. From week to week.
Right. And so you're just taking different revolutions. It's okay. You play some badass quarter notes, man. You'll get to 8th and 16th and 34th sometime.
Right.
But you got half and whole notes on lock. So like,
dude, which are hard, man. Which is deceivingly difficult.
For sure. A lot of people can only do 30-second notes. You ask them to do a quarter note, and they're like,
okay, I got it. Bear, what's up with the bear? What do you think of when you think of? I think of bear as being my favorite animal. Candy Mikowski. I love that bears are social, yet they spend a lot of time alone at the same time, and I feel like that's me. I like to be around people a lot. I also like to just be meandering through the woods by myself, eating berries and chilling riverside and shit. That's my answer. It's my short answer.
Mm,
What do you feel about bear?
mm. Very similar. Throw a lot of vibes where you're at. I tend to correlate all animals with star systems, and then correlate all star systems with people.
Mm,
So I tend to think of the word bear connected to the Ursioid systems,
mm,
Ursa Major, Ursa Minor.
mm,
You got like cub bear, and then like mama bear or full grown bear.
mm,
And you also got like ladle for Big Dipper and like teaspoon for Little Dipper. And
mm.
there's some people who only got a ladle. Their entire life is ladle focused. They never know how to use the teaspoon. And then some people only use the teaspoon. And then rarely you'll meet a very wise bear who knows how to use both a ladle and teaspoon.
I don't even know what a ladle is. What part's the ladle?
Ladle is the soup serving one that you can have almost an entire bowl of soup in one scoop. It's like a giant spoon with a vertical handle.
Oh. All right.
Yep, so that's what the Big Dipper is. The Big Dipper would be seen as a soup ladle.
That's
You can serve the Milky Way to everybody kind of deal.
nice. That just showed how uncultured I am. I pride myself on how cultured I feel, and then realized that I don't even know what a ladle.
No worries. You
That's
now have a new word in your lexicon.
right now.
Ladle.
Like the next week, I'm gonna be like, it's like a ladle, you guys. You can.
Really, it's just like the bottom half of a ball with a stick on it, and you just scoop what you want, and it's great.
This wonderful analogy for you guys. It begins with a ladle.
For sure. And sometimes that's the best lesson when you're talking to somebody. Like, I wish that people understood. And like, maybe they understand a teaspoon worth of what you're saying, but you really want them to understand a whole lot more. Like, some of my friends.
You gotta change your approach, man. You gotta straighten up a bit. I'm like,
Right.
man.
For sure. It's like, less sugar spoon, more shovel. You got this. Like,
Wait, so so you applied the star system to Ursa, little big label, but and then the people was the last association, like the character, like a archetype of people, or is that what you meant by people, like people from the fucking star system of the bear people?
that one, Ursioid. People who have genetic memory that's connected to the bear galaxy.
Okay.
And so maybe they're natively a mama bear or a daddy bear or a baby bear.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe through their time, they kind of got some black bearish or grizzly bearish qualities.
Uh,
That would be just in the way that I chart things, figuring out how information is utilized. Because sometimes I'll meet somebody who's really serious. They're super serious. And it's like, all right, are you serious like a dog? Or are you serious like a dolphin? Because those are both serious creatures, but they have different kinds of seriousness. Make sense?
yeah.
I mean, it's the same serious as the Dogon tribe, and it's the same serious as a bunch of the other legends and myths about that.
Which has dog in it, by the way.
Facts.
Never put that together. So that's what you think of when you think of bears. All right, I'm sidetracking you, but same topic. How do you feel? I never hear about that often. Is that a popular group here with memory?
I'm not too sure of the popularity of the different genetics and soul groups. I've got a pretty soft filter. As mentioned, I connect a lot with the Esasani idea of where Bashar is coming from, being a representative of Sirius B and that kind of galactic structure. But I've also taken the time to reference and cross-reference with a lot of different people who are channeling. And whether it's the Pleiadian collective or grandmother spirit or old falcon, like everybody who has something to say seems to have at least one iota of the story. So to me, there are a lot of bear people, but they're harder to find because bears are naturally antisocial. Every now and then you'll meet somebody, I'm sorry, China, you'll meet somebody who's like Winnie the Pooh, who's just like a happier kind of person who's kind of carefree. Other times there's just people who don't want friends and don't want to be friendly with anybody, but when you get them their jar of honey.
Yeah, I was right when you said that, I was going to ask what you thought about Baloo because he's personified as the bear with the jar of honey. The bare necessities of life will do for you.
Fair, and that could even be decoded into the context of saying that as long as your Muladhara or your roots are healthy, the rest of your tree will take care of itself. So if your lower center or your stomach brain is good, everything else will work itself out. But if you're trying to find your true love, well, you still have a crappy diet. Or you're trying to find but you don't take care of the vessel, these brains don't work properly unless that one's on first.
If I could give an example where the roots don't make a difference, like aphids, would you be willing, and how would you change what you just said, where all that matters is your roots.
Zoom dropped out when you said the thing that doesn't have roots.
Um, I was saying if I can give you an example of a plant or something that roots, you can have strong roots, but an infection will still kill you. Will you change what you just said, and how would you change it about roots being the end all say all of
Yes.
get the roots in place and the tree's fine?
Biophysically, roots can be represented, and then energetically or etherically, roots can be represented.
Correct.
And you physically, as a human being, Keith, do not have roots in the room that you're in. From the bottom of your feet, there are not flesh tendrils that are climbing into the ground that
I was
connect
like
to
trying
the
to read
building.
into it, like how about oh yes, correct. I do not have
Physical roots.
I am
Right. However, your soul vessel, your spirit, your personality, you're talking to me as though you're somewhere comfortable. It's not like you're like in an alley somewhere and someone could sneak up. So you do have roots there. They're just not measured in the organic plane. You follow me now?
correct.
So I'd say the roots are still there. They're just being perceived in a different way
Correct.
because the rooting process isn't one that you're doing to have the house grow. You're actually growing a house within the house. Like
Yes.
you're growing a home in the building of the house.
Correct. Yeah.
So your roots are in the home, but not in the house.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people try to have the house held and the householders and keep the house, but then when you get to their home, it's a cluster show.
Yeah, I see. All right. So that was question number 2. We can do one more because Tesla.
Fair? I'm down for sure. Curse that Edison guy. What the hell?
We're back to 3 because Tesla said so, god damn it, and we will honor his memory. Like it should be.
See, I think Tesla's like Elvis and probably still around.
You think he figured it out? He's just sitting in his box of Tesla energy, just re-hyping the juju so we can live forever.
I don't know if he ever would have needed to log out if he did the job right.
Oh, just permaplugged.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? Indeed, is the fucking question. Yeah. Yes. Is that the last question? Plant medicine? That's too vague of a question.
Yeah, we can do another session on that maybe.
Yeah, that was about to say that's what we can start over if that's what you want.
For sure. And maybe to touch on that briefly, there are people who think that medicine should come in little orange containers. And there's other people that think medicine is something that you can listen to.
Or a mushroom that you could eat while we're on the topic.
For sure. So in that way, the sacredness of what medicinal things are is where the conversation really is.
Let's say, run that again.
The sacredness of what medicines are is where the conversation is. Because what if somebody has to have their medicinal whiskey?
Yes.
Somebody has to watch their medicinal MMA fight.
Yeah, I was about to say you got to go deeper, or I'm asking you to go deeper on what you're defining as medicine, because there's a lot of, because I saw a quote yesterday that said people go their whole lives, people fish their whole lives thinking that they're going because they want to catch fish, and that's all I said. I was like, oh, they're going because they want the solitude, they want to be alone, they want to be in nature. It's like a lot, they don't, whatever, they don't, most of the time they don't catch the fish if they're not good fishers, you know what I mean? So
For sure.
that medicine aspect is worth diving into. What are you defining as medicine?
Totally. And I'm going to split the realities here and see if we can end on this note, but you can also take it as a meta sin.
Ooh, carry on.
That would be meta as an additional or periphery data, and then sin as though knocking an arrow in bowing and archery. So if you're going to do something like go around the block, well, that could be a sin for somebody who wants to sit next to you and talk. But for you, it's a good thing because you need to walk around and kind of calm down. Our health should be why we're pursuing medicine. I know a lot of people who want to get medicated every day and they just like to be medicated. And I don't really know why it would be good to be on a heavy dose of Percocet or Valium all day if you're trying to function. If you had like open heart surgery or something, then yes, being medicated would be important. But the only way we're going to get better is if we give permission for our friends to perform third eye laser surgery on us. We have to really surrender our beliefs and set it down and be like, whoa, this can be a medicinal interaction. This isn't just like a recreational talk. Like I'm really talking to myself through another person who wants to listen and I want to listen rather than like, oh, yep, I just put on Joe Rogan and now he's in Texas. So now I can critique him about that rather than the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could instead be like, oh, wow, this person changed their game. Maybe it's time for me to kind of get that microphone out and do what I want to do.
Hmm.
So I'd say you tell me one medicine that isn't based in plants, and then we'll have the conversation.
One medicine that isn't based in plants. I was like, alcohol has got to be based in plants for sure. You ferment plants to make it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was gonna say meditation, but I guess breathing is oxygen from trees.
Facts, for sure, for sure. That's a good one. That's also how you increase your plant brain. Actually, fish brain is the way to think about that one. But every time you meditate, it's like the koi in your body calm down. But if you never meditate, then the fish tank of your brain gets a bunch of algae and stuff. So looks like we got a pretty hot beacon. I figured that we could probably keep going for another 2.5 hours if we wanted to. But do you want to table this and make another schedule so we can get back to normally scheduled?
No, that was it. We're yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. So thanks for stopping by, man. Thanks for the chat.
Word. Thanks for being awesome, Keith. You take care, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care, listeners. Buy stuff from his Etsy shop. Subscribe to his channel. He's dope.
Wait, drop yours too, because a couple of people asked about your YouTube channel. I know you didn't have one, so if
For sure. So I do have a YouTube channel. I don't upload to it. Yeah, for sure. I'm still kind of figuring out how I want to do the online presence. Right now, I prefer one-to-one. If you want to reach out to me, type in Richie Zxy in InstaFace platform, whatever. I don't care. And you'll find me as Richie Zxy and let's start connecting. If you want content, you can throw my name in things. Eventually, it'll be a little more organized, but the link tree is what Agent Smith has been posting in the chat. And that's the easiest way to get the spread of what I've got going on. So I'm off the radar on purpose, but I'm glad to see that you're still blazing forward.
Yeah, and we'll continue. We'll continue to push despite all odds. We will. What is it? Something and prosper? How does it go? Live well and prosper. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. Live long, prosper, and enjoy Colorado, Keith.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. All right, everybody. Thanks. If you're in Colorado, we'll hit me up or near. We'll link up. Good night, everybody. Peace out.